My daughter was being made fun of for her cultural food, so I swapped her lunch without my wife knowing.
This is like when you got made fun of for eating salad.
Yeah, they called me salad boy. Still hurts.
What's up, salad boy?
My wife, Sarah, 36 female, and I, 35 male, have an 11-year-old daughter named Lily. Lily had begun attending 6th grade in September, but this problem only recently became a major issue. Sarah is Indian and makes great dishes that the whole family enjoys and tends to pack these lunches for Lily as well. She typically packs Lily a rice with dal in a container or something similar, which she had no issues with in elementary school.
So good.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
These kids are stupid. Indian food is the best food ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean, I love my Indian food.
Indian food is my favorite food.
And I also love the fact that this comes from Last Advice 5907 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So recently, Lily came sobbing to her mom and I about the lunches she took.
Aww.
The kids at school had been making fun of her food, which absolutely made my heart break. Yeah, dude, I remember no one used to want to trade a salad for a Lunchable.
Oh my God, I
tried. School pariah.
I always had like purple cabbage and Vegemite sandwiches
No
and
one
other
wanted
healthy
that.
things.
They thought
and
it was
Vegemite
Nutella.
sandwiches, I would pass.
Yeah, I would go around and I would go, food for the poor, until they gave me their hot lunch.
I'm not going to lie, this story kind of hits home with me.
It also hits home with me.
I imagine it hits home with a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I had struggled with the same thing at her age. See,
Aw.
happens to everyone. Generational struggle. I come from a Chinese family and would always take homemade food to school too. And when I asked her if she wanted us to report the problem, she begged us not to.
Oh.
She wouldn't be called a snitch or worse.
She's
No,
like,
snitches
snitches
get
get stitches,
stitches."
mom and dad. I'm going to be tough.
When Sarah heard this, she simply contacted the principal. What happened to snitches get stitches? Sarah's going to get little Lily in trouble, which I didn't want to resort to at first and left the issue, telling Lily she wouldn't be buying school lunch and to just ignore the other kids. The same problem occurred every day. Every day. Lily would be coming home feeling extremely upset, and there were even times Sarah would yell at Lily for not even touching her school lunch.
She needs to realize why she's not touching it.
Yeah, I mean,
She doesn't seem to understand.
it's traumatic to have nothing to trade for Lunchables except a Vegemite sandwich.
All you want are
Indian food.
that pack of Gushers.
Dude, the pack of Gushers. We both had talked with Lily about her culture and how she should be proud. We've contacted the school, but the school is ignorant of the issue. They simply had a talk with the parents, and it ended there, and Lily isn't budging.
Oh.
I don't want her to starve, like any good parent should want.
Yeah.
Because so many days she doesn't even eat her lunch. I know how brutal middle schoolers can be, and I didn't want Lily to feel insecure or upset, even if it meant making her take other lunches. But Sarah refuses to make other lunches. Really quick, pausing right here. There's more to this story. Question for chat. Question for you, Fia.
Mm-hmm.
If your kid's getting bullied for having cultural lunch, do you change the lunch?
I think that obviously I've never been in a situation like this, but I think I would probably, if they were like coming home and not eating, I would probably change the lunch, and then when they were home, really pump like all the cultural food and, you know, celebrate it at home.
Yeah. She would feel insecure, upset, even if it meant making her take other lunches. But Sarah refuses to make other lunches. So I began to make other lunches for Lily, like sandwiches or sometimes mac and cheese, so she'd feel more comfortable eating it in school in front of her classmates as a final resort when nothing else worked. I would take Lily's lunch for myself at work and pack her own lunch early in the morning, which she finished and seemed happier when coming home daily after. Okay, so it seems like a good solution.
Yeah.
However, this only worked for about 2 weeks until Sarah found out and was infuriated. She said I was denying Lily her culture and she needed to learn to stop being insulted by other kids, telling me I'm raising Lily to get whatever she wants Is Sarah right? Am I the a-hole? There is an edit and an update, but what do you think? Is OP the a-hole?
No, I think OP was trying to protect his daughter and saw that she was sad and she was being affected by this. And also, you can say, oh, well, you should just get over it. You shouldn't let words hurt you to a 6th grader till the cows come home.
The words hurt.
But words hurt. When you're in 6th grade, I feel like 5th and 6th grade is when people's opinions of you matter the most that they've ever or at least it's like the first time that they've mattered that much.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need to fit in or I am like
you're ostracized. You're on the outside.
Yeah.
I think the reason I got fruit roll-ups is because I was bullied more than you.
I was only bullied a little bit in 6th grade.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So my lunch was weird. Not weird. For me, it was normal. But for other people, it was weird for them. But I did have like Filipino snacks and Asian snacks that everyone was like, I'll trade you my Gushers for like.
You were like, oh, now you come crawling back.
I was like, everyone was like, he's got the import. So
you have an Asian snack dealer.
I had High Chews before High Chews were like a thing.
No way.
Yeah. Like I had High Chews.
Are gas.
And everyone was like, what is that? I'm like, it's like a Starburst, but like better.
I only had a High Chew in high school. That was the first High Chew I ever had. Freshman year high school, circa 2011 or 2012. Yeah. But we got some edits. We got some updates. Raina says it seems like she can have cultural food at home. Which, Tragically said, I'd rather have a child eat something than skipping, to be honest. So
that's a good point. I like that a lot. Like,
it feels like chat agrees OP is not the a-hole. But we'd love to know what you think in the comments below. But we got an edit. Bring this post and topic up tonight. I'll post an update when I can. Hopefully this is enough to convince Sarah. If not, I'll do what other comments said and just keep packing Lily's lunch or let her pick. So some of OP's comments. Commenter says, not the a-hole. You don't have to use every single meal to celebrate your culture. Getting the kid to eat something is way more important. And OP responds, 100%. She's been eating her lunches since I switched them out. And Sarah responds, and Sarah, thinking about Sarah, I think Sarah's heart is in the right place. I'm talking to her soon, but otherwise I agree she's not exactly going out with it in the right way. We can preserve her culture in other ways at home. And everyone from Reddit said OP is not the a-hole. I would love to hear from anyone who thinks OP is the a-hole, or at least OP is maybe not the a-hole, but you should stand firm in having the cultural food because like maybe that teaches your kid to not whitewash their culture when they are when the world might try to teach some kind of, I don't know, resilience. I could see some people saying that too, but for me it's like kids got to eat.
I think if it's not, the most important thing is that the kid eats.
Kid got to eat. But OP voted not the a-hole. Now getting in to the update. So I'll start by saying thank you for all the comments. A lot of people agreed with me. Some told me I should let Lily pick her lunch. I showed the post to Sarah, and it took about an hour or so, but we both sat down and talked with Lily on where she wants to go from here, and she said she liked the lunches I packed her, etc. However, we also figured out this bullying had been going on for longer than just 2 to 3 weeks.
Of course,
so Sarah agreed to let Lily take whatever lunch she wanted on the condition that she'd eat homemade food, Chinese or Indian, for dinner/breakfast still. We all agreed, so Sarah got her part in. So I guess like win-win. Sarah makes sure that culturally she gets like indoctrinated is the wrong word, but like culturally she gets educated on what kind of food is around, and but also doesn't get brutally made fun of at school. As for the school, since the principal hardly did anything, we reached out to the school board superintendent and are still waiting for a response.
I think that's a great.
Yeah, I think so.
Actively try and prevent this from continuing.
I think this would solve the issue better too. And when we get a response, I'll post a second update. Thank you for the advice. And OP is responding to some comments, and we do have another update, but Commenter says, I'm so glad you were able to get through to your wife and that you're escalating the bullying issue further. Out of curiosity, do you only eat Chinese and Indian food at home? I can imagine it's hard to keep in contact with your culture and that it's a strong way to do it, but I grew up eating food from many world cultures at home, including each of my parents in my country, along with that of many other countries from around the world, so I was surprised by that aspect. It didn't really occur to me that some people only eat food from one culture until reading this. Of course, Indian Chinese cuisine allows for a wide range of delicious food, and there's restaurants for anything else, so I don't blame you. I'm really glad some flexibility has been allowed, as forcing is one way to make sure your child resents their culture, which would be sad. And OP responds, nope. Although I see how what I said is misleading, she orders out some nights. We make pizza or other meals some other nights, and definitely not always on special occasions. By the way, if you want to join us on a special occasion, you can join us live on YouTube and Facebook every weekday at 3 p.m. PST, and we're probably live right now, so tap our profile,
We're live
right now.
We're literally live.
We're
right
literally
now.
live.
Update 2. So I'm sorry for taking so long to update, but we managed to resolve everything.
Wow.
The superintendent and school board were actually incredibly helpful and got back to us within 2 days to schedule a meeting about this. I don't want to go too much in detail, but there were 2 specific girls who played a big role in the bullying. So we bullied them back. Now, I believe one of them got detention for some time and another got suspended because she had done this before. Their parents were also super apologetic and supportive of Lily and didn't try to get in the way of the consequences, which was really nice.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a win.
Surprising.
As for Lily, she is doing much better and is definitely more content and happier when she comes home from school. Thank you. And that is where that story ends.
Lovely.
Nice.
I still think they should have a Heritage Day, but
Yeah, dude. Every school should have a
small
heritage
ones,
day.
I suppose.
My daughter's friend stole her expensive pants, but her parents refused to admit it.
Give her back the pants.
Give her those pants.
Those are her pants.
Background. We have been family friends with the Smiths for about 4 years now, which I assume is a fake name. We have kids at ages that mesh up perfectly, so it's always a good time when we get together. They're great people that we trust. They have a daughter that we'll call Carol, and we have one we'll call Laura, both 12 years old. Laura is a bit shy, but the kind of girl who opens up and has a great time with a best friend, which Carol is. Laura is also very organized and clean. She knows where all her stuff is, and it's exceptionally rare that she misplaces anything. By the way, this comes from user White Thunder 9 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, the incident.
Dun dun dun.
A few weeks ago, we had Carol over to swim with Laura in our pool. Before they went in the pool, Carol and Laura went in Laura's room. At some point, Carol started looking in Laura's dresser, apparently just browsing. Laura was a little weirded out by this, but didn't think too much of it. Carol at one point says, "Wow, these are nice Lululemon pants."
Wow.
Laura had gotten them about a week prior as a special going back to school / birthday gift, and they cost about $100. She was very excited about them. So they talked about them briefly, and then Carol put them back. The girls then went out and swam for a while, then came back inside and changed. Carol left her bag in Laura's room while they hung out for another hour or so. When it was time to go, Carol went and got her bag from Laura's room. The next day,
Okay.
Laura was absolutely freaking out before school because she couldn't find her pants.
Not the Lululemon pants.
If I got nice pants, don't touch my nice pants.
Just don't touch any of my stuff.
I've had nice pants ruined before. It's not fun.
Don't take my clothes.
She looked in every drawer. She looked in her sister's drawers, looked through all of her dirty clothes, the laundry room, everywhere. The pants were nowhere to be found. We certainly didn't want to assume the worst of Carol, but somewhat related, Laura did mention that Carol was wearing a different friend's Crocs, which she said she had borrowed from said friend. So my wife and I decided my wife would call Carol's mom and do the old benefit of the doubt conversation, asking gently if maybe Carol had mixed up Laura's pants with her stuff. Carol's mom said she asked Carol about it, but Carol said she didn't have the pants.
Can you imagine this call? Hey, Mrs. Carol. Just a quinkadink here. Do you think Carol got these nice pants? Like, I don't know. We're missing pants. Do you think she has the pants?
Straight up, did Carol get confused and accidentally go through my kid's drawer and she went through my kid's dresser and stole her pants accidentally?
I don't think so.
We went back to a theory that they got misplaced, but several weeks passed and we still didn't see them. Again, very unlike Laura for something like this to happen.
It's the pants ghost.
Yesterday at school, Laura sees Carol wearing what suspiciously looks like her Lululemon pants. She notices the logo on them on the lower back, the pocketless design that her pants had, the same color, everything. She's pretty sure they're hers, especially considering the implication in Carol's first reaction to them that she herself didn't have pants like that. She asked Carol about the pants, mentioning they looked a lot like hers, and then Carol seemed uncomfortable, and it seemed like she was trying to hide the logo on them. Oh, Carol.
Carol.
At one point, Carol lagged behind the group of friends they were in, and it seemed like she was trying to fold the top of the pants down so the logo was less visible. Laura had previously told another friend named Sarah about this incident, so Sarah was on close watch at this point too.
These are 12-year-olds too. This is kind of...
Like,
I think I've been in this kind of situation.
how do you, even at 12... You know that you did something wrong. You know that you're taking these pants that aren't yours. How do you then wear them to school thinking that you are not going to get caught? What? You're going to fold the logo down?
Because guess what? Your kids don't think that far ahead sometimes. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. So this is like 2 months, about 2 months, maybe like a month and a half.
Who did she think that she would just forget?
Yes.
We don't forget about our nice pants.
Yeah. Suspicious. Like, it's like, oh, these are really nice pants. They go missing the next day.
Yeah.
And again, Laura is very meticulous about things. Like, she's very like, that's there. One thing that caught my attention. Yeah. Was there's a sister, Laura's sister, but we don't know how old Laura's sister is. That's the one thing I was like, mate, because you know that happens. I doubt it too.
Everything, the stars are aligning right now.
Way too much. It's fault. Like this, 100%.
This is Carol did a little.
I'm trying to give it's like a 5% right here. Like there's 95%. Like this is probably Carol.
This is the beginning of her Ocean's 11 crime.
But this
story.
does happen a lot with siblings, especially same gender siblings. They take each other's clothes all the time.
Wow.
But again, I don't know the age difference here of Laura and her sister. I don't know if it's younger, older. We don't know. But again, 90. I'm changing the percentage.
You're doing a thorough investigation.
Yeah,
which I can appreciate.
I'm trying to be like, all right. I'm like.
Like, let's not jump to conclusions.
Let's not jump to conclusions here.
As she wears the stolen pants.
And is being very odd about it. Like, oh, don't look at the logo.
Later in the day, Carol, Laura, and Sarah were in class together, and Sarah observed that the logo had been cut out of the pants, which was definitely done since they had seen her hours earlier. Laura had a look and saw the same thing. My wife and I discussed it at length and decided that even if this creates an awkward wedge between our families, we will call again and mention what Laura witnessed. So my wife calls Carol's mom, who at the time was in the middle of a school-related event. So when my wife explained the situation, the response was, okay, I will check that later tonight and get back to you. It seemed a little more casual than she expected. Today at school, Carol seemed the same as usual, like nothing had happened. No mention of the pants, no mention of her mother talking to her about it, nothing. Laura, being the non-confrontational person that she is, didn't say anything about it either. We've not heard from Carol's mother either, and it's been over 24 hours. So now we're not totally sure what to do. Do we wait another day or two? Do we call a third time and up the rhetoric a bit? My wife hasn't used the word stolen yet, but that's only because we thought the hint, so to speak, was obvious enough that she would at least tell Carol, you need to give those back. Do we just let it go at this point and cut our losses? We had already set up a date to have their family over for dinner this Friday. So now we're kind of dreading that, because if we don't say something between now and then, and they don't say anything to us, we're going to have that in the back of our minds the whole time and not be super thrilled about it. I mean, it sounds like you're answering your own question at this point.
Yeah.
You need to bring it up again.
It needs to be brought up. I know it's just like, their pants. You can buy another pair of pants, but it's just like, why?
No. I don't know.
This
is principle at this point.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Like, at first I was like, this is just pants, but now it's like, Carol, you've been caught, and it's the thing of like, parents are gonna listen to their kids. I think it's what's happening here. Carol's like, oh, I've had these pants. These are my pants.
How did you not know that though? I mean, I guess well. This is Carol needs to learn, one, you don't be a thief.
Oh yeah.
You don't
because
steal.
guess what?
You don't steal from your friends.
Especially if she's borrowing the Crocs, she's borrowing the pants, or these are my pants. This, especially at a young age, guess what this will lead to?
And it's like they're not cheap. These are like little status symbol pants.
No, guess what?
And
this
she
will lead
ruined
to?
them. She cut them.
Oh, I know.
It will lead to
This is
more.
not- It'll be leading to
It
a
will
life
lead to
of
more bad activity.
Yeah, which we do not condone. That's bad. So you might as well stop this now.
Yeah. Because it starts with Lululemon pants. Where does it stop?
Yeah, if that's where you're starting.
Who knows where it stops?
Eee.
Not to mention, we can't trust Carol in our house because who knows what she has her eyes on next.
Like we said.
What is the best thing to do here?
We already.
We
I think
do
we
have
already,
an update.
Yeah,
Let's get into
obviously
the
just-
update.
Yeah, go to the update.
As I mentioned in my original post, we planned to have the Smiths over this past Friday night for dinner. This was just coincidental. The date was set up like a month in advance and a week or so prior to the pants disappearing. It was on a Tuesday that my wife called Carol the thief's mom to tell her my daughter, Laura, saw Carol wearing her pants at school. Side note, I thought she cut the logo off the waist portion of the pants to hide the evidence. Apparently, it was cut off of the calf as well. So it was plainly obvious as there was just a big effing hole in the pants that you could see her leg through. So there's no way Laura made a mistake in seeing what she saw. Carol's mom made no mention of this all the way until Friday when the family was over for dinner and she and my wife were alone chatting. The conversation went something like this. Oh,
Are you ready?
I'll be Carol's mom.
Let me see if I can read it.
And I'm going to put on an affectation.
Okay, I will try my best to read this.
I'm going to sound like that. Who's the character from Big Mouth?
Lola?
Probably that one, yeah.
All right, I'm just going to be normal. Okay.
Okay, here we go. So the pants, I asked Carol about them again, and she said she hasn't seen them. I went through her drawers, and I couldn't find them. I know when stuff gets lost at my house, it's usually in a sibling's drawer. She pulled the key on.
Yeah. I get that. We checked every drawer in the house at this point. They're nowhere to be found.
Did you check under the couch? We find all kinds of things there at our house. Yes, she really implied that the pants were under the effing couch. My wife, somewhat bewildered.
No, pretty sure they're not there.
No, that's so weird that they're just gone. It was a bit more lengthy of a conversation than that, but that is the gist of it. So, at this point, my wife is just trying to process real time what's going on, which is harder to do than you might think, especially when the whole family is over having fun and you don't want to make a scene. So she basically just dropped it at that point. My wife and I talked about this for a long time that night. In the interest of brevity, here are the conclusions that we came to. Carol's mom is not taking this nearly as seriously as she should, not just because we're out a $100 pair of pants, but because her daughter is clearly a thief and a liar, and she doesn't want to acknowledge that. Yeah. That's a huge problem.
Again, not a good start for a 12-year-old.
You gotta get ahead of that.
Yeah.
Carol and her mom have insufficient respect for the property of others. Also true. Carol is never invited to our house again. That means the Smiths cannot come over all together again because Carol would be included. The Smiths might not be in our lives anymore. We're still trying to figure this one out since their son is in our son's class and we love him and have had no issues with him, but it will be hard to have him over without this incident stewing in our minds. So we still need to give that some time. For now, at least, we're calling this case closed. I know some of you are effectively screaming at me, justice must be served. And you may be right. That might be the best thing to confront the issue again and get Carol's mom to cut us out of their lives or actually do something about this. But considering the amount of effort we, mostly my wife, have put into it thus far and the amount of additional bad blood it could create to really dig into this, we just have no desire to take it any further. Which I disagree with.
I don't like
I
that.
feel like there's a really clear-cut way to move forward.
It's just going
here.
to keep brewing, especially since you guys are already like same class for your son, same class for your daughters.
Right, it's like
you're going to be seeing each other still.
This doesn't have to be a thing that is like it like ruins your relationship with this family forever.
No.
It should be something that you guys are. They should actually be like giving you like a high five, be like, hey, thanks for helping us raise our own daughter.
Yeah.
But before we let's keep going before we dig. We talked it over at length with our daughter, Laura, as well. We told her that she doesn't have to cut Carol off as a friend, but she has to act under the assumption that Carol will steal from her, given the opportunity. And that mistrust is going to be a problem in maintaining the friendship. She was totally understanding and in agreement, but she said she didn't want to cut Carol out of her life. She eats lunch with her in the same group of 4 to 5 friends basically every day at school, so it's not exactly an easy thing to do without a lot of drama. We also took Laura to Lululemon this weekend and bought her the same pants again. We told the clerk there about the situation, and you should have seen the look on her face. Probably looked like what you're feeling as you read this, a mixture of disbelief and rage. And by the way, I would be in complete disbelief, maybe not rage, but definitely disbelief.
Maybe a little bit of rage.
Didn't join us every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you got to do is tap our profile and you're here.
We might be even live right now.
Yeah. So go check right after this. So clearly, we have a little bit left here. But clearly, I don't understand why the family's not pressing the issue.
Yeah, this is not solving the problem here. You're just sweeping it under the rug kind of thing. Like, okay, we're gonna avoid the issue that Carol stole the Lululemon pants, and you have witness that she cut she cut a hole in the logo.
Beyond any reasonable doubt, those pants were Laura's, and Carol took them, and then really, look, she's 12, right? But it's like extremely transparent move to try to cut the logo out of the pants. Like what? That's going to prevent them from proving it.
One is like the waist.
It's like, no, this isn't Lululemon.
The bottom,
I just cut holes where the Lululemon logo would be.
Like you were caught. The fact that she was caught red-handed.
Right. And so now she's thinking that she got away with it, which is not good.
Even worse. You're just helping her with that mindset.
I feel like if you would push this issue further, the only thing it would actually do is probably strengthen the bond that you and the Smiths would have as a family unit, because it's like clearly Carol's mom either is I guess complicit or just fully is unaware of how sort of egregious this negative behavior is that Carol's doing.
I'm confused why they don't have both parents and both daughters sit in the same room and hey, we got to bring this up. Can we see the pants?
It seems like there's a case of non-confrontation-itis.
I think so too.
In some of these people.
Because what OP said is we've pushed way too much on this. I'm like,
you have not pushed enough.
You've done two things. You asked twice, one over the phone, maybe 3 times. One over the phone, or twice over the phone, and one in person. That was it. Laura didn't ask Carol anything. It seems like Carol was not even investigated.
Yeah, no, I would have immediately kept pushing after. If I'm OP and then Carol's mom is like, did you look under the couch? It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to say this. Your daughter stole my daughter's pants. Yeah. That is what happened.
We need the proof. We need the pants. We can compare the same pair of pants.
It presented in a way where it's not even about your terrible daughter stole $100 from us. It's at this point, it's more like I'm just worried about
your kid having.
Yeah, let's get ahead of this before she becomes a serial thief.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Anyway,
but that's the case there.
I hope to God the end of this story is them just pressing the issue.
I hope so too. Let's find out.
Just really sucks to learn this about a friend, that they're like this and don't share what should be obvious values. My wife has vented this situation to 2 other moms, and both were just absolutely appalled. She feels bad about essentially gossiping about the Smiths, but it's been dominating our thoughts all week, and having someone validate that we aren't the crazies was really good for my wife. Now we're sort of at peace with letting it go.
You just started spreading rumors.
So, Reddit, what say you? Did we make the right call? I appreciate the huge amount of input I got on my last post. Wish I could have responded to more of you, but the post was locked before I could.
We already said
you were right there. You were so close. You really didn't.
You saw the finish line, and then you're like, oh, that's the finish line. We should do that. We're gonna win, and you took a freaking left.
Yeah, I feel like it was right there, and you made all the wrong calls. First of all, you also told your daughter, still hang out with Carol, but just be aware
we're gonna keep talking behind.
She'll probably try to steal stuff from you.
We're gonna keep talking behind her back, behind that family's back. I don't like it.
I don't
like what they did.
Y'all need to talk more about stuff instead of just be able to be more upfront about things.
Yeah, 100%. But that's our advice. And that's the end of that story.
I forbid my mother-in-law from gifting my daughter clothes. They never fit. And this is a direct OK Storytime post. This is one of ours. One of our own.
Man, maybe just throw it in the dryer and shrink it down.
There you go.
That's how clothes work.
My mother-in-law, 65 female, and me, 34 female, were fairly close at the beginning. I first met her son, now 42 male, when I was 23. We started dating when I was 24 and later married when I was 25. Wow, they're moving fast.
Quick, man.
Mother-in-law is generally fine. For the first few years, we would often go to see her, roughly weekly, and would message regularly. My husband was married previously and has another daughter-in-law now, 14 female, from that marriage. By the way, this comes from Beneficial Exam 8115 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I started to notice that mother-in-law seemed to be more and more comfortable talking about her son's ex-wife and giving me and him details of her contacts with her and current happenings in ex-wife's life, which naturally gave me the ick. However, I understood that my husband had a child with the ex-wife and therefore she would always be a part of our lives. It was unpleasant and awkward to listen, and I admit I often dismissed conversation about the ex-wife when asked to provide an opinion. When I was 29, we fell pregnant with my daughter, now 3 female.
Wow.
Aw, congratulations. After the 12-week scan, we went to mother-in-law to let her know we were expecting. She appeared extremely happy and cried hearing our news.
Woo.
So sweet.
W mother-in-law.
At this time, she already had 5 grandchildren. We also told my mother, 54 female, who was equally as happy, and this would be her first and only grandchild. Unfortunately, my daughter does not have a maternal or paternal grandfathers. All continued as usual with mother-in-law. Husband's ex-wife had a second child, 6 male, with her partner. Mother-in-law was regularly, every couple of weeks, seeing this child, and ex-wife's son came to call mother-in-law Nan despite not being related. Likely because his sister, my husband's daughter, was calling her Nan.
So this kid isn't related to the mother-in-law, but he's still calling her Nan.
Yes. My daughter was born in 2021. Pregnancy was difficult due to the pandemic, and we hadn't been able to see mother-in-law as we once had, but she would regularly message to check in. Once my daughter was born, we took her to meet mother-in-law and all seemed well. My mother traveled 250 plus miles from her home to meet my daughter and spend some time helping us to look after her in the early days. My mother still lives 250 plus miles away and travels at least twice a year to spend 2 weeks with my daughter.
Wow.
Taking her to various places and generally making memories. We saw mother-in-law 4 to 5 times during my daughter's first year of life. By the way, mother-in-law lives about 45 minutes away, roughly 15 miles. Life got busy and it was difficult to spend so much physical time together, let alone coming out of the pandemic. We had a party for my daughter's first birthday, which mother-in-law attended. After that, we didn't see mother-in-law for another 2 months, and after that, my husband took out daughter to see mother-in-law a few months later. Mother-in-law's messages were few and far between now. I wished her happy Christmas, happy New Year, happy birthday, Mother's Day. There was always an acknowledgement, but never conversation.
Okay. Happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just their whole text message.
Got it.
That's upsetting. Have you ever had those conversations where it's like you send someone happy birthday and like the last text that someone sent was happy birthday?
Oh yeah,
from
yeah.
the year before or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like great
It's
friends.
okay.
Christmas 2022 and my daughter's second birthday came and went without a word from mother-in-law. She eventually asked to come over and see her to give her Christmas and birthday presents 6 months after Christmas and 4 months after her birthday. She kindly bought her many, many gifts. Mother-in-law commented that my daughter treated her as a stranger and was having to take pictures of her from my Facebook as otherwise she would not see her. I wonder why. After this, mother-in-law saw daughter once more that year, bringing the total to 2 times in 2023. 2023 Christmas and third birthday came and went. I reached out to mother-in-law in March this year, and we arranged for her to come and see her granddaughter that month to give her Christmas and birthday presents, of which there was generously a lot. As usual, mother-in-law excused not being around as a result of life and that she assumed the family were well and happy if she hadn't heard from them. I don't quite understand what this means and I didn't ask. Amongst the gifts on this occasion was a beautiful jumper, size 2 to 3 years, would likely be on the smaller size. My daughter is very tall for her age and she has
just had her 3rd birthday. But usually children's clothes have some stretch. Unfortunately, this jumper was not forgiving. It had no give, and simply my daughter had outgrown it before mother-in-law had even arranged to meet to give her the gifts. Yeah, that's a good
Kids
point.
grow fast.
Yeah, especially at that age. Like, there's different sizes for like 2-3 months, you know?
Mhm.
And so if there's a 3rd birthday party and you don't give a present to her till 4 months after, she's gonna be a different size.
Oh, yeah.
This is the 2nd time my daughter has been gifted clothes by mother-in-law and has got next to no wear out of them simply because mother-in-law has not seemingly been interested in arranging a get-together to present the gifts. Mother-in-law, you just gotta get gifts for like the next age and then you're good. Problem solved. Although we have a very small family and social circle, those in it are aware that my daughter does better with clothes the next size up due to her being impossibly long. That's funny. This is particularly needed in tops and less so in trousers, as otherwise they do not fit around her middle. As I write this post, me and my daughter have not seen or heard from mother-in-law since March.
Dang.
My husband has had the odd message, but otherwise not much. Mother-in-law continues to have regular contact with my husband's other daughter and his ex-wife's son. No relations.
Oh, they don't have a relation. Interesting.
So
I thought they
OP's
did.
husband's ex-wife's son.
Probably from another person, from another man.
Probably, yes. So that's why he
Yeah.
has no relation. So that's who was calling her man.
Huh.
Mother-in-law now has 8 grandchildren in total, my daughter being the only one from me. 3 of her other grandchildren she also sees weekly. They are also living roughly 45 minutes away from her in the opposite direction to us, with mother-in-law living in between both locations. Wow, so it's not even like it's more convenient for mother-in-law. She's seeing them every week.
That is weird because there's no relation either.
Well, some of them there is relation, but there's one that isn't.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There's like, I think everything else is related.
What'd you say, OP? Or what is she mad about, OP?
Yeah, what? What is her beef? My mother has religiously continued to make the very long trip from her home to mine to spend time with my daughter at least twice a year and calls her weekly to speak with her. By the way, you can always spend time with us, joining us live on YouTube every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
Tap her profile.
So easy. And there is a little bit more, but what are we thinking? So
OP,
far?
you may have slighted your mother-in-law in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because they were good beforehand.
Yeah, they were fine, and she was seeing her quite a lot, I think. And all of a sudden,
Something changed.
with this child,
I think it might have been between maybe the dad, maybe your husband and mother-in-law.
with Christmas fast approaching, my daughter's birthday only 2 months after that, I have asked my husband to gently ask mother-in-law to not buy her clothes as a gift, as I know they will not fit, and I have suggested she reduce the amount of gifts she purchases. In my opinion, I would very much appreciate it if she would make more of an effort to spend time with our daughter instead of buying a lot of stuff. But am I the a-hole for asking mother-in-law to not buy my daughter clothes? And that's the end of it.
She's not going to think ahead. Don't waste your money.
I think that's so reasonable. Like, it's not that you're not asking her to spend time with you, which is a lot of Reddit stories we have seen.
Yeah.
It's not like you are asking her to just, like, I don't know, stop talking. Don't even bother. You're not making this into a fight. You're just asking, like, hey, just maybe buy her something else.
Yeah.
Because the clothes won't fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, I mean, you could say, like, just buy it 2 sizes bigger because...
And a conversation sounds like it's needed.
For sure. For sure. It seems like it's being avoided somehow.
Yep. Listen to that story.
That's the end of that story.
The mother of my daughter's boyfriend is horrible. She tried to force me to cancel our trip.
Break them up.
I, 40 female, and the mother of a very nice girl who is dating a very nice boy, both 19. However, she is not quiet when it comes to criticism when she sees BS going on in her social life, including boyfriend's mother's behavior. By the way, this comes from Extension Student 150, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I've heard stories from the boyfriend's mother, 37, being, in my daughter's words, a lower scale version of one of those weird boy moms. She tended to be overbearing, making very specific, tailored jokes for boyfriend, like not only being able to drive my daughter in his car for a month, but letting him drive the other people. Another time, my daughter accidentally left a spicy kiss on his cheek. I wasn't happy about it either, but I wasn't expecting a verbal apology to me from him about it. She was from my daughter, and when I was told, it made me uncomfortable. He has also been pinned with punishment for actions of his sister that I suppose he didn't try to stop despite him not knowing. It's happened enough that the sister only stays at mom's because she won't punish her like their dad does and only punishes the boyfriend. She's renowned for making up those kinds of excuses. From being an educator, she is one of those parents who will call and make excuses for their daughter's behavior. And doing this once, the vice principal told her of a situation they hadn't addressed with our kids yet regarding too much PDA. I never heard about it. And our friend, the principal, said they weren't in trouble when my daughter went asking and even said the vice principal was out of line giving boyfriend's mother that information. She even said in front of my daughter at least 3 times that boyfriend and a close friend with the same disability could be a cute couple, despite this girl being extremely manipulative and in a relationship herself before she and boyfriend had stopped being friends. Despite all this, I always tried to get my daughter to see the good sides and at least try and see it from a different side and not to be driven crazy by the mom. She continued to be a bit odd, but we met for a senior event that she put off agreeing to until a week before. We'd been inviting boyfriend for months and she wanted to do it all along until she didn't want to do it. She seemed nice and told me she wanted to take my daughter to a concert that summer. I agreed. And we kept talking, and I felt like it went well. The concert came up and went to HE double hockey sticks. They drove a big cedar car with 2 adults and 4 other adult kids that broke down halfway through the trip. My daughter messaged me, but kept it brief. The car broke down. Boyfriend's mom was screaming and freaking out, not doing anything to fix the problem. My daughter looked up rental car services and recommended they call the police to find a local tow. It took half an hour to do this, and when they did, boyfriend's mom used boyfriend's money without telling him. He only knew he paid for the rental car, but later found out she took money for everything without telling him. Uber, tow repairs, tow about $3,000 until after the fact. What kind of parent takes away from their kid?
Yeah, like took $3,000 away from your son? What?
Heck no. My mom, thank you, mother, had no ties to my bank account whenever she met. She even took me to the bank to get it set up and had no ties to it whatsoever.
A parent should not be taking out money from your child's bank account unless you've talked to them and there's honestly, they should be doing it, but it should be like, oh, okay, this money has to go out because we're paying for your college something.
This made my daughter even more uncomfortable. Less about the event and more about the character boyfriend's mother displayed. I agreed and understood, but again, I didn't want to play devil's advocate and try to sympathize. This Baptist behavior seemed a little important for what ended up happening. We planned my daughter's trip for months, and we went for her birthday/senior trip to a destination at first only 2 hours away, and then a final one that was 4. At the first destination, as we were about to leave, boyfriend got a call through my daughter's phone. He got grim and was a bit sad and wouldn't talk to my daughter about it. Before we get to what happened, keep in mind, she knew where we were when she called because she wanted an update for every little thing. Leaving the driveway, getting on the highway, everything. She does this for everything for her 19-year-old. We made it to dinner at the final destination and boyfriend was still quiet but told me he had to talk to me. I felt uncomfortable because I knew my daughter was distraught about not knowing what was going on, but I said I would because I was the adult and I needed to know what was up. He said something at home and boyfriend's mother needed to talk to me. I said when we get to the hotel after dinner. We ate, got in the car, started driving in another country and heard the horror phrase, "Let me get the phone to her." As I try to navigate this place with my husband, I always handle the phone to talk to boyfriend's mother. She said the worst thing that could happen did. Her nephew had a tumor they found out that afternoon and was going to be operated on tomorrow, ? I felt awful. We have our own bad luck on trips with family members passing away and getting sick every trip without fail. I felt sympathetic. That was until I was told that boyfriend had to somehow get home to see his cousin. I was in a car with 4 other people who had been in the car for a total of 6 hours. I couldn't just turn around and leave without telling them or consulting my husband. I did try and make an effort, though, saying we could try and get back earlier and we intended tomorrow, leaving a couple of hours and getting there maybe around 7. I got the equivalent of have a heart, he needs to be here sooner.
Oh my God.
Oh, wait. I didn't know what sooner should be.
Okay, also, they've just driven all of this way. They can't just turn around immediately. That's insane. What do you mean to have a heart? Figure if you need him to be back there, then figure out a flight. I don't know.
Yeah,
You can't just tell people that they have to turn around after a 7-hour drive or whatever, however long that drive was.
It seems like
immediately, at least.
This boyfriend's mother uses everyone as their little minions to do XYZ for her.
Yeah, she's trying to control everyone. She's like, okay, well, you have to turn around.
I threw out that we could leave right in the morning, but hopefully get there for 4, and she got pissed. She yelled that this was a family tragedy and that would be too late, that his cousin might not wake up the same, and boyfriend had to be there in person to see him before he went under. I stood my ground and said I needed to talk with my husband before I made any decisions. I was not going to turn around and just leave without talking to my husband like she clearly was wanting. She bit back, saying that if the shoe were on the other foot, she'd do everything to get my daughter back home. That pretty much ended the conversation. My husband ended up driving 4 hours back to meet up halfway with boyfriend's mom, her not even saying thank you to him and just taking boyfriend. On our way home the next day, boyfriend told my daughter that on the way home, his mom doubled down and said she hated me and felt bad for my daughter and husband. She didn't drop the animosity, getting mad about boyfriend, wanting to go to family events with those people, and now inserting herself on some important dates. Like a tattoo my daughter paid for boyfriend. She didn't contribute, but just blew up. She won't let him do simple things we offer, like borrowing my daughter's car. By the way, we can let you borrow our voices for as much as you want. If you go to your favorite podcast platform, just search up OK Storytime on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Dude, boom. Borrow us all day if you want.
We'll be there.
My daughter is now more uncomfortable, not just because of this, but also because boyfriend's mom is pregnant and is still smoking green in front of her when she's there and talking about baby stuff. Am I the a-hole for not leaving another country at 11 at night to get boyfriend home to see his cousin for what I found out later was
exploratory surgery? I freaking knew it.
I feel like I added fuel to the fire that I didn't need to, but I also feel that it wasn't my impromptu choice to make.
Yeah, no, I knew it. Exploratory surgery, it's just saying like they were checking if there was anything there. It wasn't like it's not like an actual surgery.
She just found.
They're looking for something to see. I believe that's my understanding of exploratory surgery is that you're looking if there are any like malignant tumors or anything.
Dude, some high-strung parents just rub me the wrong way. I don't know how to deal with them. I feel uncomfortable around them and I don't want to be near it whatsoever. It just, it's like, why are we feeling this way? Life's going to happen. It's going to be all right. You can't control the world. To be honest, I don't think anyone would fault you for wanting to finish your daughter's senior trip before rushing back for a family emergency. I mean, it's not like you were shrugging it off and refusing to help at all. You were still trying to find a solution and be there for your daughter as well as boyfriend's family. Sometimes you just can't please everyone and you have to do what's best for your own family too. Opie says, completely agree. I hold no animosity towards boyfriend's mom. Just don't appreciate the immature behavior and doubling down. Stuff happens and it can get emotional. I just feel bad about this affecting boyfriend and girlfriend's relationship in regards to boyfriend's mother's side of the family. She took her sister's truck to get him and have no doubt this spread like this stuff tends to. Comment 2, there was actually an emergency because the boyfriend's mom sounds like the super controlling type who would make up an emergency to make him come home. Opie says she has tried to guilt trip him into coming home from a camping trip on his birthday before, but nothing so dramatic yet. From what we know, she blew it a bit out of proportion in the most serious way I can say in context to the scenario of a brain tumor. She said it would change the cousin's personality and he possibly wouldn't remember people, making it sound like they were operating to possibly removing some or all the tumor. She is on disability after being a LPN for a back surgery, so semi-credible. It more ended up being exploratory, opening him up to get a view of what's going on. Still dangerous because brain surgery, but not nearly as invasive as she made it out as context. He got diagnosed and scheduled surgery in less than 24 hours. That's impossible, right? They need time for tests. They need to check up before putting someone under. And that's the end of the story.
Dang. Well, yeah, I don't trust this mom. She's sus. It's like, what do you do? I think you just offer the boyfriend a safe space, you know, where he can have people who love and support him because it seems like his mom is really out of whack.
Yeah.
My daughter is getting married for the 3rd time and I don't want to pay anymore.
That's fair. I feel like at a certain point, you're like, okay.
Hey.
Okay.
Get married once, good for you. Get married twice, am I still paying? Get married thrice, stop it.
I don't have infinite marriage money.
I need my money.
Be a little bit more, choosy.
I should start by saying that my daughter is an only child. She has always been our princess, so to speak, and she's received everything material that a girl could ever ask for. By the way, this comes from user Want Own Life, and if you want to submit your stories, go submit it to the r/OKStorytime subreddit.
Yeah.
Submit your life. Submit to your life. Okay. Before you criticize my husband, her father, and I for spoiling her, we do realize that we shouldn't have given her everything from a young age. But we didn't know any better back then. And we had the money. We're quite well off, so we figured why not support our only child? My husband owns his own business, and I'm a school teacher. Together we make decent money, and I am looking to retire in the near future. When we first started out, I stayed at home, and my husband worked at an office job, and so my daughter has been pampered with all of my attention and her father's support. She's now going to be married for the third time in her short life. Her only job is occasionally supplying teaching in the same school board I work at, so she doesn't have much of a big career yet, but I do hope she will find work. I'll spare you the long of it. She married her high school boyfriend at 22, and they divorced less than 2 years later in a bitter fight. The wedding was lavish, as it was her first, and we truly believed that they would make it work. I guess my husband and I also saw through rose-colored glasses since we were married very young as well, and are approaching our 35th anniversary.
Woo!
See that? That's a big flex.
Ooh, boy.
Low-key just flexed on your daughter, but that's fine. My husband and I pitched in around $25K for the wedding ceremony and reception, and perhaps another $3K for their honeymoon to Europe. The second time she was proposed to by another man she was dating. He was a hard-working, blue-collar man, but his family didn't have much money. Again, she asked if we could help out with her wedding, that it was true love this time around. We met the man, and he was a stand-up, wholesome person, and so a year after that, my daughter, then 27, was married to her second husband. We paid for most of the wedding costs and the honeymoon to the tune of $43,000.
This is on you. At a certain point, you have to be like, wow, you know what? I'm giving my money away. This is on me.
Stop it.
Literally, I would not give any more money after this.
Most money for a wedding that will not make me go, like you could have said $5K.
Yeah.
Spend $5,000 on the wedding. Top that. That's the top.
Weddings can be pretty expensive.
Make them cheaper. I don't want any excuses.
It's fair.
Her then husband's mother was a nurse and his father was a deadbeat. They didn't provide much when it came to the wedding itself, and I admit the husband and I did harbor ill will toward the fact that her husband's father's name was clearly printed on the reception and invitations as a generously contributing member of the wedding party. And they divorced because of money issues less than 3 years later.
Whoa.
No, the girl who's had everything
$48K on their wedding, divorced over money issues.
The girl who's had everything given to her whenever she wanted it, couldn't handle not having anything she wanted whenever she wanted it. Shocker. Shocker. Hey, remember when you were like, we didn't know any better back then? You're still doing it, though.
That's right. Still doing it.
We, tired by this time, forked over money for her divorce costs and tried to regroup our finances.
So now you're also paying for her divorce?
Still haven't learned our lesson, have we? We do have a comfortable nest egg saved up for our post-retirement life. I would like to travel the world and maybe buy a small lake house with my husband. He also enjoys woodworking as a hobby. But now my daughter, who has begun dating another man, has excitedly showed us that she's engaged.
How is she doing this?
Why is she excited?
How is she getting engaged so much?
She must be hot. That's a lot of times when we just read the words, sometimes we're like, how? Hot. They're probably hot.
Probably hot.
The man in question proposed less than a year into their dating, and she's elated more than anything because after her second divorce, she didn't think any man would want her anymore. My daughter has hinted at wedding costs and brings home bridal magazines and ideas for cakes and dresses and venues, and I want to be happy for her happiness, but there's a voice inside me that is screaming, enough. We have spent almost over... We have spent almost $140,000 of my husband's and I's money for my daughter's 2 failed marriages. Wedding, reception, honeymoon, divorce. And I cannot believe she is thinking of planning another lavish ceremony at our expense. Girl, get eloped. And then maybe if you make it 5 years, you can have a ceremony.
Yeah.
I've tried suggesting maybe this time she could opt for a small backyard ceremony, but she turns it around on us and says that we don't believe in her happiness and that we're being cheap, as she is our only daughter and her father and I are quite well off, which to be fair, she's right, but I'm at a loss of what to say to her.
You tell her this.
Go, Sophia.
You say, I paid for 2 marriages and 2 divorces and your whole freaking life. I've given you everything you wanted. I'm putting my foot down and you're not getting any money out of me. Don't try to manipulate me into saying, oh, I don't love you. I do love you, but I'm not giving you any more money. Go get a job and pay for it yourself.
Perfect.
You're the worst.
Capping it off. Little cherry
You're
on
the
top.
worst.
And you're the worst. Yeah, saying that they're cheap. I'm sorry, babe.
Ridiculous.
Is 140
I would be
grand
like,
cheap?
oh, I'm cheap? I'm cheap? Just paid a whole freaking school's tuition worth of marriage.
Honestly, my brain just went to a pretty nasty place where it'd be like, I think if I got pressed like that, I'd be like, maybe if you could stay married, I wouldn't have to spend so much money on your weddings.
Whoop, there it is.
John, we're going to get back to this story, but I got to tell you, I've been loving these pearls that I got in Colombia.
You are a delicious beaded man now.
I do feel more confident at the very least, but I think these pearls pale in the amount of confidence an OK Storytime membership can get you.
That's right. You get 60 plus hours a month of exclusive live stream content. That's advice that'll make you the best version of yourself.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Crack open that oyster and get the balloons. But let's get back to the story.
Here's an update. Hello, it's been a long time. I wanted to retroactively thank everyone for the advice and the anger. I must admit that hearing others rage about my situation was pretty cathartic for me. Thank you, Sophia.
You're welcome.
I wasn't going to log back in to post an update. I couldn't even recall the password for this throwaway account, but so many of you gave me excellent advice that I feel I must give an update. Sad as it is. Long story short, my daughter's getting her 3rd divorce.
What? Please tell me you did not pay for her third marriage. Please tell me.
I'm going to say no because the next sentence is we are no longer on speaking terms and she has broken our hearts. Short story long, as many of you predicted, she threw a great big tantrum when her father and I told her explicitly we would not be paying for the wedding this time around. We said we would buy her a wedding dress and the cake, but that would be the end of it. That whatever else she wanted would have to come from her and her husband's pocketbook. She said, we don't care for her happiness. And she cried and she said that we were selfish and everything all of you said was going to happen. All of these things hurt so much to hear because they aren't true. We do care very much for her, but enough was simply enough. She went so far as to chuck her wedding planner binder into the backyard pool, which was grotesque to watch. We asked to meet the fiancé in question over dinner. What a gem he was. Tattoos all over his knuckles and his neck. Showed up to meet us in sweatpants and an ill-fitting hoodie. Didn't even shake our hand to introduce himself properly. He looked like trailer trash.
Okay.
When we asked what his occupation was, he said he was a sound technician, which made me feel embarrassed for being so prejudiced. But after a quick conversation at the dinner table where he behaved in the most disgusting manner, turns out that he's a freelance DJ. At 39 years old, I believe one should at least be put together, not living with other roommates and working at clubs on weekends. My daughter, I do not know what was wrong with her. She looked at him with such adoring eyes as if he were the best thing since sliced bread. We doubted that he could provide for himself, let alone a family. I don't know if this was a sign, but the sight of this man boy solidified our decision to not finance a drop of our daughter's 3rd wedding. We still agreed to pay for the cake and the dress, but no more. So you literally lied immediately.
They're still freaking paying for things.
Let's see. Let's read that one more time. Not finance a drop of our daughter's 3rd wedding. We still agreed to pay for the cake and the dress. What are you doing?
Y'all are dumb.
We even had doubts that maybe this thug was only planning to marry our daughter for the money. We assumed it was true when we found out she had been paying for a few months' worth of his rent that he could not afford to pay out of her own pocket. Like I said, I don't know what was wrong with her. Was he hot, though?
Was he hot?
Was he hot?
He may have been sweatpants, but was he hot?
Was he a gray sweatpants kind of guy? We gave her a budget of $13,000 for a beautiful dress.
I don't feel bad for you guys. I actually don't feel bad for you guys at all.
Bringing it back down. And maybe, just maybe another $2,000 for the cake. Maybe, I don't know.
That's like people's entire wedding budget sometimes.
The wedding planning itself was a disaster as my daughter had a meltdown over every single little thing that went wrong, even though we tried to tell her that she could use the $15,000 budget to plan the entire wedding instead of just spending it on the dress and cake alone. That was our intention. So your intention was to finance the wedding. You are enabling her behavior. You've probably done it her whole life.
You have to. That's absolutely why she's acting like this, is because she knows that she'll get her way if she whines enough. And she is.
She's quite literally getting it right now.
She's
you gave her
$15,000.
Can you give me $15,000, OP?
Please, mommy, daddy, I would like $15,000.
I'm getting married, and it's only my first time. I'm going to find somebody to marry and I'm going to give them some money. That was our intention. Maybe she could scale back the dress and cake for a more humble affair. Maybe it would teach her the value of $1. Like, handing her 15 grand is not going to teach her anything, you dunce. She would not budge. She did not invite us to the wedding, let alone the reception. We don't even know how it was, as we were not shown any photographs afterwards. I spent the entire week crying when I found out she had left us out of the wedding party. She came back a few times with a U-Haul and her disgusting husband to take her possessions from our home and moved in with him. While my husband and I were gone on a vacation to New Orleans right before Christmas, we had received several voicemails, all from our daughter. Her voice was slurred as if she had been heavily partaking in the drink or the droga, and she said she was going to divorce as he was a effing deadbeat who couldn't even treat her to a nice dinner. She said she's had to sell her engagement ring to pay the rent, that she's still living with his roommates, and that this is the part that just sends me into anger, that if only we had paid for her wedding and helped her buy a home with him, this was not even discussed between us, that she would have made this marriage last if we had given her more money.
I literally don't care about you guys at all.
Yeah, it's
there's not one iota of me that feels bad for you.
You hear that? Do you hear that? You probably
Where's
can't
my
hear
tiny
that.
little violin?
It's the tiniest violin, and it doesn't even make any noise, which is like what you should have done when you should have not given her all of this money probably her entire life. This is just the wedding stuff. Imagine
money can't buy
I guarantee
a brain.
you $90,000 car.
Yeah.
$90,000 car at 16. Boom.
Absolutely. And then she probably totaled it.
Yeah.
And they got her another
And
car.
they got her another one, and they were like, we're going to make it a little calmer. We're only going to get you a $70,000 car this time.
Yeah.
And she was like,
Mommy, but last time I got
money.
$90,000 car.
oh, God, more money, more problems. But hey, you know what? You can get more of stories like these in full episodes of our podcast that stream on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on anywhere that you can get podcasts. Just search OK Storytime and you can listen to your heart's content because there's 47 consecutive days worth of podcast for you to peruse. So go ahead and do that. I don't think we have anything left to say here. Don't spoil your kids rotten.
You guys are dumb. And then be like, why is my kid so spoiled? That's your fault. That's your fault. You failed as parents.
Truly. You spoiled. Rotten. Rotten.
Rotten.
Disgusting.
That's a disgusting, rotten child.
Nice. Oh my God. What have we done? I'm shaking with anger just typing this. I hope it's directed at yourselves. My husband wanted to leave her a seething voicemail, and I talked him out of it. As far as we know, she has moved forward with the divorce. And just really quickly to be clear, we're not on the daughter's side either.
She sucks.
She sucks.
But you guys are stupid.
And y'all made her that way.
Yeah.
And now you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, like you are Frankenstein being like, oh, why is the monster attacking people? You made him that way.
You literally couldn't even keep it straight in your own post. You were like, and that's why we refused to finance a cent except for the $15,000 we gave her. That doesn't make any sense. That's not teaching anyone a lesson. You're so stupid. We will take her back into our home, but only if she wishes. At this point, we've heard nothing from her, and she doesn't pick up her phone. It is so easy to blame ourselves for being bad parents, and I just feel so awful. She's our only child, and if any of our nieces or nephews behaved this way to our siblings, we would have cut them out of the family in a second, but we can't. She's our only child, now 31 years old, and thrice divorced. It pains me so much what has happened over the last year. I feel like I've lost a daughter. Damn, okay, empathy kicking in here.
Not really.
A little
Honestly,
bit. I mean, that does suck.
You can have the empathy, and I'm going to have the too freaking bad.
But it's like, you reap what you sow, man.
You freaking reap what you
suck,
sow.
but you reap what you sow.
You never set any boundaries. You literally never set any boundaries, even when you said that you were going to set boundaries, and now this is why you're losing your daughter, because she's spoiled, and you made her that way.
You spoiled her to the point where she felt like, given $15,000, which on top of the other weddings makes it $155,000. And she's like, that's nothing.
Enough.
That's peanuts. Yeah. And also, if you had given me more money, the marriage would have worked.
Yeah. Nope.
That perspective is so
she's an a-hole.
Fundamentally broken.
You guys are dumb. And that's the end of that story.
I practically raised my stepdaughter, but now she can't stand me.
So sit.
You got it. You took it right out of my mouth.
Oh, story over. I, 45 female, have been with my husband for 15 years, married for 13. His daughter started living with us part-time, and I basically raised her and spent as much time with her as her biological mother. By the way, this comes from user Folk Imperialism. And you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, my husband and I had conversations where he convinced me not to have kids on our own, as I should consider his daughter as mine. And I was happy to, because I started loving this girl immediately. I also liked the, quote, every other week parent's role, as it gave me an opportunity to be a good parent when she was here, and also arranging my workload and business travels when she was not with us. The first 5 or 6 years together were a blessing. I loved spending time with her, teaching her things, brushing her hair, watching movies together. As cooking is my love language, I would always plan the best meals for her and her dad, and we'd cook together. And as I'm quite a school nerd, I was the one to take care of all of her homework. Oh, don't do that. Let the child do its homework.
Let the AI do the homework.
And as I'm quite a school nerd, I was the one to take care of all her homework. My husband would drive her to school in the morning, and I would get her out, make dinner, do homework, and then go back to my computer to continue working. It really sounds like she's doing the homework for this kid, and I think that's not smart. On weekends, I'd arrange for family activities, go shopping with her, and always push my husband and his daughter to have some quality one-on-one time. I'd take her from time to time to my charity activities or bring her to work when exceptionally the sitter was on sick leave. Husband and I shared costs equally at home. Also, my parents that we visited during vacation loved her and would spoil her as their own granddaughter. She loved them back and even learned some Spanish, as my parents live in a Spanish-speaking country. I really thought we had a great relationship. When she hit 13, her whole demeanor changed, and little by little, as she really became a very mean and rude teenager, I took some distances, and my husband hired someone to take care of the homework, as I did not want to add that extra tension between us. I still did my best to be a good parent, but still serious about her education and values. It was never too bad, but she would randomly say hurtful things for no reason, like, "You know you'll never be my mom, right?"
Ouch.
To which I would answer, "I know, but do you know that I will still always consider you and love you as my child?" Ooh, nice response, though. That's a sweet baby response.
Love that.
She would also regularly talk back, criticize almost everything I would say or do, ignore me, and slam doors. Sounds like a teenager. During these years, I felt bullied in my own home, but tried to focus on something else, as we also had once or twice a year some good moments where she would come to tell me about a boy she liked, ask me advice on choosing clothes, etc. What hurt me the most is that she completely erased from her memory anything that we had before. Do you remember that time we went to this museum? Do you remember when we saw dolphins on our boat trip? No, nothing. She says she doesn't recall any of the things we did together. I even once told her that her Spanish accent was really great and that I was happy she got to learn it with locals at a young age, but she totally dismissed it. I never learned Spanish with you. I only learned it in school.
She's just lying to get your goat. She doesn't not remember it. She's just being petty.
Yeah, she's being a teenager.
She's being a teenager.
She's being a
Like,
mean teenager.
it happens.
Dang. Regardless, all these years, I kept making sure to cook her favorite meals, choosing nice gifts I knew she'd like, redecorating her room to her taste, driving her where she needed to go when her father couldn't. At 18 years old, she had a big fight with her father. I was in another room and I heard her screaming how much she hated me and how much I basically ruined everything and took any joy from her life. Her father kept asking, "What has she done to you?" But she
Great
had
question.
no answer. Yeah. "Well, she did all my homework and she always cooks and she cleans my room and she also does the feng shui."
But like when she like drives me everywhere that I need to go, like when you can't do it, she like uses the turn signal and it's like annoying me or
She's like so cringe, dude. Like
it's like cringe.
for real. I just can't stand it. She's cringe.
Yeah.
Ugh. Hearing that shattered my heart into pieces. My whole body was aching like I had been hit by a ton of bricks. Hearing her words, I felt the most pain I've ever experienced in my whole life.
Aw.
When my husband found me after she left, I was on the floor crying like a baby. For 2 days, I couldn't leave my bed, literally. After that, I suggested to my husband we should separate at least for some time because I didn't feel like I belonged in this family. Dude, this girl's destroying you. He refused this, but he promised to go see a therapist for the two of them. After that, my daughter-in-law decided to live full-time with her mother. Husband and his daughter went to family therapy, and she never explained the reason why she hated me so much. The only thing my husband reported back is that she felt I was trying to replace her real mother. On my side, I also went to therapy because that day broke me for good. I really felt like my whole life was a lie. My therapist helped me go through a mourning process, trying to accept my own choices and live with the fact that I had no child. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's a lot to analyze, but it's like, hey, you're doing the hard work, because it's true. It's like, that's actually not your kid.
Yeah, and
right?
like if she accepts that, it's like it's literally like Obi said, mourning. But it's like, okay, on the other side of that, at least you don't, because right now she's constantly getting disappointed.
Yeah.
At least you won't have this constant disappointment just thrown in your face every single second. Every single day.
You can temper your expectations.
I'm curious on the parents here. Where is the line where it's like from terrible teenager to just you're a terrible person? You know what I mean? Like when
I think
what's
around
the
16,
difference?
around 16, 17 is when like the line between like, all right, you're just trouble, to like, all right,
Trouble.
you're going to be in trouble if you don't change.
Because like I could, to a degree, I could be like, okay, this kid probably, she wants her mom and dad together. You know, she just wants like the old parents back. But the lengths and how far this kid is going is evil.
Well, it sounds like the fight with her
Insidious.
dad, it's like she didn't say any of that. I mean, it was loud enough for her to hear, but it's not like she screamed it at the stepmom.
That is true.
But at the same
But
time,
she
it's
treats her
still,
like
it's like
crap.
she said it. She
Yeah.
said it regardless.
Yeah.
So since then, she comes over for dinner with us once or twice a month on her own. She also once reached out to me to ask for help with her university work. She stayed with us 2 weeks so I could help and review the end-year project she was working on. Her relationship with her father improved a lot these past years, and now they are very close. I'm very happy about this, and I will always find a way to give them time to be just the two of them when she visits. As they are having a good quality time together, my husband now wants me to spend more time with her and is now frustrated that I do not want to. What my husband doesn't see is that my situation with his daughter never improved. As we did not live together, there are no more fights, but I still know how much she hates me. To give you some examples, just last Thanksgiving, while we were all at my in-laws, my stepdaughter would never talk to me, roll her eyes literally every time I speak, refuse to say good morning to me. If I insist, she would always answer, "Oh, I didn't hear you," exactly like she did as a teenager. Refused to touch anything I would touch first, and would not let me even set the table, or at least not her plate or glass. What is this? If my husband's family is nice to me or congratulates me for my work achievements or my cooking, she would always become very silent, look annoyed, or even leave the room. She makes snarky comments and mocks me every occasion she has, always small things that could easily pass as, "Oh, it's just a joke. Just a joke." She refuses to eat anything I cook, saying it's not to her taste, even if I sometimes spot her discreetly eating it later. So, what happened? When did she decide to hold the most petty, potential? When did she decide she hates you?
I think when she literally wasn't her mom. Like, I feel like it was from the jump of like, okay, my parents are separated. I want my real mom. I want my mom and dad together.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to hate you. I'm going to try to hate you out of you existing as a stepmom figure.
Yeah. So the 13-year-old brain hit and it said, "That's not your mom."
It locked in.
Do you think like a friend or like, because when it like comes to like being a teenager,
Could be
like
13.
yeah, like friends kind of like start putting that nonsense in your head?
Yeah, and she's not 13 anymore. Now she's 18.
Can we be honest? When we were, the three of us were teenagers and then the people we knew, right? I feel like the vast majority of people I knew as a teenager from 13 to 18 would not behave like this. Not some people, you got your wackos, but I feel like I feel like a person who isn't actually a angry, bitter person at heart. Like, I don't think it's just like a phase.
I think, well, they just are going through a lot. You got the separation.
It's true.
Like everybody's
It's true.
different. And it's like, I know a lot of teenagers who went through a lot of crazy insanity. It's like, I'll be like, Euphoria is such a dumb show because it's not realistic. And then I'll think of some people I knew growing up and I'm like,
Wait a second.
wait a minute. It
Wait
kind
a
of
minute.
is, which is bad. It's really bad. And
Yeah.
I fear for all of the children. Although my husband saw how my mental health suffered from this episode a few years ago, he doesn't seem to understand why I don't want to spend more time with his daughter. He never sees all the attitudes I see, and he says it's just me overanalyzing everything, but I know I'm not. And I am really at a point where I don't know what to do and how to make him understand. Here is some additional info. I want to thank you all for the support and even the harsh words about my responsibility. I realized that in my post, I only focused on me and did not tell you enough about my husband and the bio mom. First, I will answer a question that came up in the comments. My husband and his ex were separated before we met. He had a few girlfriends, but I was the first serious one and the only one he introduced to his daughter. Second question I saw in the comments. Yes, we also went to family therapy, the three of us, sometimes when she was 14, but my stepdaughter would be very silent when I was there, or she would cry, which was extremely painful to watch. That is where we were advised it would be better to go without me. Up till now, I have never received any explanation on the why she hates me. The only thing, as I said before, was me trying too hard to replace her mom. I never felt I was doing that, but I certainly was trying to be a good parent. I also feel I need to clarify a few things, as a lot of people here were mad at my husband. And I need to tell you, he is a good person, but he's not perfect, because who is? My husband is not really the caring kind. He's unable to plan anything for others if he's not reminded to do so, but he has many other good sides.
This is the classic, like, look, my husband is a great guy, but he's terrible at this, terrible at this, terrible at that, and terrible at that, but he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's like,
that's what it's giving.
My husband's great. He literally can't think of another person besides himself, but there's sides to him that are great.
There's good in him.
Yeah, like his left side is really his best side. He is very generous with his money to everyone, his family and friends. Oh, so he's a showboat. He's trustworthy. No, he's not. And he is the funniest person I know. I bet. He lights up a room when he enters. Oh, what's that? The darkness is here. Oh, sorry. I'll stop being contrarian.
He turns off the lights so he can be
yeah. Also, my husband did take care of his daughter on certain aspects. I could not, as I had no legal rights to her. Like, he would attend all the teachers' meetings with her mother, and he would also take care of all things that relate to healthcare. My husband is grateful for everything I did, and he always acknowledges how he would have never been able to raise his daughter if it were not for me doing the biggest part. Also, during the teenage years, he always had my back when we had words with my stepdaughter. And that is also the reason why, I guess, his daughter was mean to both of us, accusing us of siding against her. And these fights we had, it was never big, always just stupid teenage things. The main topic was me asking her for respect to me and to the house rules, like not insulting me, screaming at me, throwing a tantrum because of little chores like emptying the dishwasher or cleaning her room, or having a curfew when she went out to a party. Regarding not having kids of my own, that is probably the hardest part. And I have to admit that I have some anger towards my husband about this, especially as I terminated 2 pregnancies early in our marriage. Both pregnancies happened when I was on birth control. However, this is a topic I worked on with my therapist, and I have to accept that I'm the one responsible for my choices. I was an adult, and I should have fought more for it if I wanted it. I need to own my mistakes, although at the time, I was under the illusion I already had a daughter, and I did love her from the bottom of my heart. Dang, that is, oh my God.
Like, it sounds like early in the relationship, she was on birth control, and he was like, hey, not ready yet. Like, don't want to have the baby now. And she's like, well, at least I have stepdaughter. That is my daughter.
Right. It's like, well, I feel like she's my daughter.
But nope.
And then she grows up and goes, you're literally not my mom. Shut up. You are cringe.
And I guess she can't have children now? I guess she's too old or something?
I would assume, like, yeah, that's probably where it's at.
This is awful.
Regarding the biological mother, yes, she might have or probably spoke ill about me, but I absolutely have no proof of that. I always kept a cordial relationship with her. We would meet quite regularly when she came to pick up our girl, and I would always invite her for a coffee and a piece of cake. If her daughter was with us when it was Mother's Day or when it was her birthday, I'd always buy her a bouquet of flowers, and my husband would take his daughter to spend some time with her mom. Once, I remember my stepdaughter was with me the whole week as my husband was on a business trip, and the bio mom told me she was by her own, so I cooked a nice meal, invited her over to our place, and I went to buy her a gift with my stepdaughter. She brought the cake, and we had a nice, slightly awkward, but overall nice time. Just the 3 of us. The only incident I can recall is her once asking me, can you please stop making homemade meals, as my daughters keep comparing our food and now refuses to eat my frozen dinners.
Oh, so she was sticking her nose up and being like, oh, every time someone compliments her food or was like talking about her food. And she literally won't even eat what you make her because her food was that good.
Yeah. I mean,
dude,
I laughed it up politely like it was a compliment, and it ended there. I also remember pushing my husband for some medical consultation when I thought my stepdaughter needed to see an orthopedic surgeon or a dentist or a child psychologist. I know my husband and his ex had words about that, as she did not agree. I ended up being right about the need I suspected each time. which might have upset her, but these are very insignificant moments over a 15-year time period. I might also add that the bio mom never had a serious boyfriend after she split up with my husband. She doesn't have many close people around her, and her whole life revolves around her daughter, and I know for sure she loves her more than life, which is why it's hard for me to think she would sabotage our relationship, as it would be counterproductive for her daughter. Because despite everything, I really think I was a good, caring parent, and I have been a great academic support to her daughter through the years. One last thing I would like to add. All these years, and even now, sometimes my stepdaughter would be very nice to me. It would last a few minutes. We would talk about science as she's interested in this topic, or I would share experience about my charity work, or she would need help with something like fixing her dress and would ask nicely and thank me afterward. But every time that would happen, she would always immediately be even meaner right after. It is really weird, like if she forgot to be rude to me for a second and then just remembered that she has to and proceeded to overcorrect her attitude. I have no explanation for this. It's either that or she's like mind gaming you. She's either like literally forgetting that she's supposed to be rude, or she's like, oh, this will really throw her for a loop.
Yeah, I kind of don't. I low-key don't trust her.
I wouldn't. The problem now is that my husband wants us to all be united. He wants us to be all together in these big family events as a perfect family picture. I asked him after Thanksgiving if he noticed how his daughter treated me during that week, and he was totally oblivious of it. He loves his daughter, and I love the fact that he does, but I am done loving her. I have no hate in my heart. I really went through a grieving process to get myself out of a severe depression, and playing a new role is just now impossible for me. I just don't want to be bullied or feel uncomfortable, and I do not want to be forced to spend time with someone who so obviously despises everything about me. And we have an update. Your thoughts, John, before we get into the update? Or
I mean, just what a process OP has had to go through and how fair she is. Like, I mean, I would understand if she was like, it's not right to be mad at a child, but I'm kind of hurt, but she's like, I don't love her because, again, like, I think it's the process of like, if I see her as a daughter, I will constantly be disappointed. So I can't love her as a daughter. Like, I literally have to like view her as this like other separate entity to be able to just like live my life and not constantly be
to have
sad.
This semblance of good mental health, because that was definitely a big point in her life,
dude.
Wanting a kid.
Huge. And yeah, just so many red flags about the husband. And I think the thing about him being oblivious, yes, sometimes people truly are just like ignorant and oblivious to something, but they've had so many therapy sessions and everything else, I don't think he can play the ignorance card anymore. I think if he was being an active partner, he would be like, okay, maybe I'm not naturally observant. I need to lean in to make sure I'm noticing whenever these moments happen. Right. So I don't think he can play that card anymore.
Yeah, it is true.
He lost it.
It is true. He should know. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I took a few days to reflect on all your comments and decided to have a serious conversation with my husband.
Oh.
I know many of you wanted me to ditch him or blame him for robbing me from having my own kids, and I somehow do, but I also have to acknowledge my responsibility for that. It's my fault to not have stood up for myself in that moment and took the easy road of letting someone else decide for me. Our marriage is not perfect, but I still love him and wanted to find a way we could continue living together without having to add the extra stress his daughter Mia brings. This is how it went. We need to have a serious conversation. Do you remember when we came back from Thanksgiving and when I asked you if you noticed Mia's attitude towards me and you said no? No. What do you mean no? You did not ask me if I noticed her attitude. You asked me if I noticed how much she hated you.
Brother.
What's the difference? Well, I did notice a few things, but it doesn't mean she hates you. It's complicated. Listen, I'm done playing with words. I need you to be honest with me. What have you noticed? Well, I saw that she was mean with you. She had tough words. And she would act very weird around food you cooked or touched that I saw. And I saw her rolling her eyes whenever you talked. That was such a relief to hear him say these words. Finally, someone else saw it, and I'm not crazy. I told him about all the other things and forced him to listen and understand. Also found out that even my mother-in-law noticed Mia's demeanor. She mentioned it to my husband. Somehow, that is reassuring because I often question what part I'm seeing is paranoia or interpretation rather than reality. And it turned out I also missed a few things myself. And because I kept our interaction to the minimum during that week, I didn't notice that Mia was acting weird towards my husband as well. And by the way, you know, it would be so weird.
What?
It would be so weird if I'm talking to you, did not find full episodes with stories like this that you can listen to at your pleasure. All you have to do is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and search up OK Storytime, and there you will find the archives, and they are complete, and you may peruse them.
That would be freaky.
Yeah. So you had some words to add.
So before I was like, oh, he can't play the ignorant card.
Mm-hmm.
He knows, but isn't taking it seriously, which is worse. He knows what's going on, but refuses to. He's like, oh, yeah, she just like rolls her eyes every time you breathe and like hates on your food, then runs away and eats it in the bathroom because she loves it and like da-da-da-da. It's like, bro, do you not see? You literally know what's going on, but you're not confronting it because you don't want to like truly acknowledge OP's feelings and like truly deal with what is happening here.
True. So here is the end of the story. My husband then confessed that the 3 first days were amazing. I did see them talking together, joking around, listening to music, and running errands, but the last 3 days were very difficult, and his daughter barely talked to him and was in her room most of the time. At this point, I asked him if he has any clue why we are here, and if he thought maybe Mia was depressed, which might explain the changing mood. My husband's best guess is that Mia's biomom has probably called her and poisoned her mind, which led her to be moody, but this is just a guess. Well, to cut it short, I still don't know why my stepdaughter hates me. My husband acknowledged that he needs to quit pushing me to spend time with her, but he promised he won't do it anymore, even if that means I won't be attending some of the family events. Also, he will talk to his daughter and try to understand what the problem is, although that is no longer my problem, but his to handle. And I think that's good, realizing that, hey, you got to take your horse out of the race here. There's nothing you can do.
Agreed.
Thanks again for the support and for helping me stand my ground. And that
Stand your ground.
is the end of that story.
That's the end. Dude,
Sometimes, man, it's the minds of others. They are an enigma.
poor freaking OP. Like, what a soldier. That's all I'm
Yeah.
going to say. What a soldier.
Truly.
Like,
That was years and years of OP's life in that story. Like,
and I felt like she didn't unfairly, like, she was, like, very empathetic for everyone else, despite her just going through so much.
yeah, she really made it less about, it was really all about the child. It was all about the kid.
Yeah.
She's like, I just want the kid to be good. I wish we were good.
Yep.
I just want her to be good. She's not my daughter. She's not my kid. I wish she was. There's still time, though. Still a lot of life left.
It's definitely a maturity thing, and hopefully she realizes maybe, oh, I was a little bit of a brat and a disgusting kid and can make amends, but that's just down the line, and you just gotta give it some time.
Leave it up to hope. My wife wants my daughter gone, so I gave her an ultimatum.
Well, I want your wife gone.
Yeah. Hey, Reddit. I, 43 male, have been with my current wife, Amanda, 42 female, for the past 6 years, and we have 2 daughters, Becca, 4, and Eliza, 2, while I have 2 kids from my previous marriage as well, Liam, 17, male, and Sage, 15, female. By the way, this comes from user Purpose of Dune. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. Trigger warning. Children. Boxing. The divorce was less than amicable, and since my ex-wife had more money and a better paying job, she was awarded primary custody despite me fighting for it. For the past 8 years, I've only had my older kids every other weekend and on Wednesdays. A few weeks ago, my older kids asked if they could live with us full-time due to issues with their stepdad. Liam especially had come to blows with him a few times, and even their mother thought it would be for the best. I did talk to my wife about it, and I know she wasn't happy, as she feels uncomfortable around my older kids, although this is something she neglected to tell me until we had our first child together. Things since Liam and Sage moved in have been hard, and as much as I'd love to get some family therapy, my wife is against it, and we're on a waiting list. Before, when my kids would come over, my wife would take our daughters to her parents a lot to give us space, even though I never asked her to do it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure being a step parent is difficult, but my kids are really good kids. They have straight A's, they have lots of friends, they play sports, and are incredibly respectful. I know I'm biased, but people go out of their way to tell me these things. So it's been terrible watching Amanda nitpick everything they do. It's almost as if she's waiting for them to slip up so she can send them back to their moms. We had already gotten into an argument over the holidays due to her trying to push them out of our traditions. Our older daughter, Becca, is going through a biting phase. Her school wants her to get occupational therapy, and I've been working with our insurance since Amanda doesn't like the one at the school, but always it seems like there's an endless wait list. So obviously the house is tense and we've all been walking on eggshells. Then, yesterday morning, when I was making us some breakfast, we heard a scream and Becca came into the kitchen crying, saying that Sage hit her. Amanda ran into the den where Liam and Sage were and started screaming at them to leave. She was obviously pissed, but Sage told her she was sorry. She had been done with the TV, so had changed it to one of the girls' shows, and Becca got excited and bit her. She said she didn't mean to slap her and felt bad.
Exactly.
It's a pain response.
Like she bit her and she probably went, ah.
Yeah.
Also, like,
I got bit.
I'm
Happens
sorry.
all the time, yeah.
Even if it was like a punch or I don't know, even if there was actually like intent behind it, as long as it wasn't like they were going at, you don't tell a 14-year-old to like, get out of the house, never leave. Like that's a conversation where you're
That's
like, you know
true.
what? You are like, you parent them. You don't kick them out of the house.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I immediately calmed down after hearing that because I think anyone has been there, but Amanda didn't believe her. Sage even had a bite mark, for God's sake. Things continued escalating, and our girls were crying, and Amanda screamed at both of my older kids to leave.
I'm sorry, if someone was doing that to my kids, I'd be like, don't speak to them that way.
It's true.
Don't
It's
you
like,
dare.
this is where you need to be like in between them.
Yeah, like,
hey,
no,
you're way off base here.
that you
All
are
right?
way out of line.
These are all of my children. Sage told her that she would so she could calm down, and that pissed Amanda off more. That Sage is emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
Great. Liam and Sage left to friends and ended up spending the night there. So for the past day, Amanda has been on one, saying I needed to pack their things and send them back to my ex-wife's house permanently. I can't keep dealing with this BS. I told her this morning that it was an accident and she needed to let it go, but she's refusing, even threatening to call the police. She said she could never be comfortable with her babies around Sage anymore and that she didn't feel safe. I laughed because Amanda herself once hit Becca for biting her. She ended up taking the girls to her mom's and I told my kids to come back. Amanda has been texting me that she'll be back tomorrow and the kids needed to be gone. I was ignoring her, but finally said this was their home and if she was comfortable, she could pack up and leave. My parents came over and basically told me I wasn't wrong, but shouldn't have said that she could leave. I know there are some things you can take back, but at this point, I almost mean it. I would hate to deal with another divorce, but Amanda has been so terrible to my older kids these past few weeks. I honestly feel like she's become a different person. And there's an edit to clarify. When we had every other weekend plus Wednesday custody, my wife would take the girls and her parents on Wednesdays only, and I would take the youngest to dinner. Before we had kids, she'd go to dinner, but our girls aren't the best at restaurants. She would be here on weekends. My son is not violent. His stepdad believed in violence as a form of punishment, which I do not and never did, but that's why they asked to live with me.
Which is another element of this, of people being like, absolutely not. They're staying here.
Right, because they don't feel safe there.
Yeah.
And
now you
they're
have
my
this other
kids.
stepmom who's like making them feel not safe here. That's terrible.
But Sage has gone from apologetic to fully devastated about this. She offered to go back to her mom's as long as Liam didn't have to. So I told her that would never be necessary. She did not mean to hit her sister, and Becca was incredibly upset about biting her. We are working on it, but we are a single income family, and I cannot afford an occupational therapist outside of my insurance, and I am probably going to utilize the one at school, though, despite what Amanda has said. Also, our youngest was not planned, but things seemed to be getting better, so we were excited. I did get a little snip-snap vasectomy after that, but I love all my children. And there's an update here. Edit. Can everyone stop telling me to save text messages? I'm not stupid, guys. I know that. And edit 2. I do want to point something else out because I'm getting attacked for it. I knew about Amanda's feelings after she gave birth because we're a married couple, but my older children did not. I even asked my kids if they had felt unwelcome, and both emphatically have said that prior to them moving in full time, they were under no assumptions that Amanda felt anything but love for them.
Oh, I was trying to remember what the change was in the past couple of weeks, and it was that they moved in full time.
Yeah. They knew that when she had kids that they would be her main focus since Liam and Sage mostly lived at their mom's, but didn't think her attitude towards them was off until they moved in. And yes, I did emphasize they should be honest with me And they said they were, which is why everything that has been happening lately is so devastating for them. All 4 of my kids are okay with me, and Amanda is still at her parents' house. My older 2 kids have told me some disturbing things that they've been feeling since moving in full time. It took me a while to get it out of them. They said they've been uneasy and it felt like if they put a single toe out of line, they'd be forced to go back to their moms or be homeless. They've been trying to be good and perfect and nice, and they're getting worn down by it. They say they don't know what changed in Amanda because she used to love them and be kind to them, and I don't have a good answer, but I told them it wasn't their fault. My son said he's worried that she'll tell the younger ones lies about them or something else, and they were uncomfortable being around the kids even though they love them. My daughter again offered to move back to her mom's if Liam can stay, which broke my heart. Liam said they would live with my parents if they'd have them, which hurt even more. I told them they weren't going anywhere. They said they know how upset I was after the divorce and don't want that, but I told them repeatedly my marriage was not their problem to worry about. Meanwhile, Amanda has been texting me non-stop. I've not been responding unless it was about Eliza and Becca. She has said some incredibly cruel things about me, my 2 older kids, and our relationship, basically telling me my kids just want us to break up, just like their stepdad, and I shouldn't let them win. Ma'am?
Where are you getting this from?
I just want to
Where are
know
you getting this from?
where you get the audacity. I'd like to, wherever you're sourcing yours from, I'd
Yeah.
like to get some.
I would text. I mean, I wouldn't text her back, but if I were to text her back, I'd be like, actually, they want us to stay together.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with you.
That's just a me problem with you now.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a me problem.
It's a me.
Yeah. She called them my children, spoiled and entitled and smart Alex who would ruin my life if I keep letting them. I obviously ignored that, but between all this, she texted me a list that she wrote of her non-negotiables for her to move back in. They were all pretty deranged, except one which did say she wanted cameras put
Oh
up
my
in
gosh.
common areas, which
What?
I've already decided on and ordered. But other than that, she demanded cutting Sage and Liam out of the will as they will get money from their mom, which is insane.
Also, I would like to point. It seems like single income household, which, like, why does she think she has any say on where this money goes? She's not earning any of it.
And I think, again, this really, the core of all of this just feels like, well, it's my kids versus
Yes.
those kids.
Yes, exactly.
And my kids have to win. So she demanded cutting them out of the will, which is insane. And also, it's not like we're talking expecting to be able to leave much to anyone anyway. The house is the one I had bought with my ex-wife. She wants to sell it and buy one to start fresh. I want to point out that when we got together, I told her I was definitely going to be staying in this house until my kids went to college, since it's their childhood home. And now it's our girls' childhood home. So I won't be leaving. They would need to find somewhere else to live when they turn 18. Also insane because she knows I think that's trashy and they turn 18 in the middle of their senior years. She did not want to have it to do anything with my older kids, including family events, dinners, and vacations. And yes, that would mean excluding my oldest from any family vacations, pictures, and all of that. She does not want our daughters around Sage or Liam. She wants veto power over any extra time or money I'd be spending on Sage and Liam to make sure things stay fair. And probably the most deranged one of all was that she wants half of the child support their mom is sending put into a retirement account in only her name?
Divorce. Oh my god. This woman's crazy.
Dude, did you just roll in out of stupid town? You think this guy's gonna do all that after how you treated his kids?
I'm sorry, is this like what she's asking for in the divorce, or is this her demands
this
for
is her
not
coming back.
divorcing?
This is just her demand to be back in the house.
This is her coming back.
Yeah, but
What
oh
cloud
my
are you
God.
on that you're like, yeah, I can make these demands and he'll abide by them, right?
I can't even fathom being this completely out of line.
It's like if someone hits you with a baseball bat and they leave, and then they call you and they're like, "Hey, I'm
gonna need a new baseball bat.
gonna need a new like here are the terms. If you want me to come back, I need a new baseball."
Yeah. No, here's the terms if you want me to come back after hitting you with the baseball bat.
yeah.
1, no helmets.
Yeah. No
Okay.
helmets. You can't run away.
No, 2, zero protective gear whatsoever. 3, glue all over the floors. All of the floors except for my shoes. My shoes are anti-glue.
No glue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
4,
what this
I need a
is.
new baseball bat. All right.
This is what this is.
They need to hit you.
It was immature of me, but I just did the ha thing to that text, and she sent some other BS text to piss me off. So he just reacted to the text message like with a little bubble, didn't even respond. I talked to my father-in-law earlier today when he picked up / dropped off the younger girls from church. He seemed annoyed with the whole situation and referred to it as Amanda's little tantrum. Originally, the girls were going to go home with them, but they threw a fit. Luckily, I'm off work this week to be with them. The sad thing is that Sage and Liam have been avoiding the younger girls, which is devastating for them, but I'm trying to work on explaining everything right now. And by the way, I'm going to explain right now that you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just search OK Storytime, and there you will find a proverbial El Dorado of stories.
Watched that last night.
Magnificent.
You did? You watched
the first time?
It last
You
night.
watched El Dorado last night?
So good.
For the first time?
I forgot.
Oh, okay, not for the first time. It's an amazing movie. I love El Dorado.
I know my man's not watching El Dorado for the first time.
I would be shocked.
No, not
El
for the first
Dorado is
time. No, no,
incredible.
Of
El
Of course not.
Bro, I was singing the songs like I remember them from yesterday. I was like, wait, why do I remember these?
I just want to hit that pose, the guy with the...
And up
Julio.
to God. Yeah, so good. Freaking Elton John.
It was Elton John, right?
That was Elton
was
John.
Elton John?
That was all
Thank
Elton
you.
John.
Thank you. I told
soundtrack.
Carly, I'm like, this is Elton John. She's like, I don't think it's Elton John.
It's Elton John, dude.
Okay. We've gotten to Elton John. What do we have to say about this story?
Elton John.
Nothing else.
John.
Divorce.
So I did find a therapist for my kids this week. It's out of pocket, but obviously I can't wait any longer. I don't know what Amanda's up to. She FaceTimed the girls earlier, but I don't talk to her. I don't know how fixable this is. I told her if she wanted therapy, I'd set it up, and she was emphatic that it was not necessary. I told her that was my non-negotiable. So not a great update, but it's nice to get feedback. I might not update much if things go the way I think they're going, but I gotta do what I gotta do. And that is the end of that story.
There it is.
My sister's family made shameful comments about my daughter, so we're avoiding gatherings now.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Shame. Hey guys, just really quick before we get into the story, there's a trigger warning. There's like some phobia, like phobic comments, just contexts in the story. So if you don't want to hear anything about that, go ahead and skip this one.
I, 34 female, have a preteen daughter, 11 female, who is a trans girl. She hasn't started puberty blockers yet, but she's already made a lot of changes. Wearing dresses, growing out her hair, and speaking in a more feminine voice. She's thriving, and I'm so proud of her for being herself. By the way, this comes from user AccurateOkra4783, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. However, things got pretty complicated with my sister. Her name's Sarah, and her family. I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong for how I've been handling things. Sarah has always been more than just a sister to me. Growing up, we didn't have a dad, and our mom struggled with substance use disorder. Sarah basically raised me, and when I had my daughter, she was always there for us. After our mom got sober, she's been clean for 10 years now, she rejoined the family. But Sarah's been like a second mom to me and my daughter. That's why this situation is so hard for me, and I really don't want to cause any rifts. Sarah's husband, Tim, is very conservative, and while I've never heard him directly say anything hateful about my daughter or people, I overheard him once, thinking was in another room, saying that people don't exist, and that my daughter should dress like a boy until she's 18. That moment really stuck with me, but I didn't confront him about it because I was so shocked. A while back, my daughter and I went to a family dinner at Sarah's. Everything was fine until my nephew, Sarah's son, 12 years old, said something that really hurt my daughter. He told her that she wasn't a girl and that she had male genitalia because God gave it to her. This was devastating for my daughter, and we had to leave early because she was crying. I didn't want to make a scene, but I can tell my daughter was crushed. The next day, I met with Sarah for coffee and told her what happened. She was incredibly apologetic and promised that it would never happen again. She assured me that Tim didn't share those views and that she was unaware he was transphobic until my daughter's transition started. I appreciated her trying to be supportive, but when we went back for the next family dinner, things took a turn. During dinner, we all held hands to pray, and when it came time for my daughter to join in, my nephew refused to hold her hand. He called her a gross Franny. I didn't hear this directly, but my daughter came to me afterwards, upset and crying. My nephew seemed confused and didn't say anything when I asked him about it, but I trust my daughter. She's not the type to lie about something like that. She just wants to be accepted. Sarah claims my nephew didn't say anything, but I'm not sure what to think. I know she doesn't share Tim's views, but at the same time, I can't ignore the possibility that Tim's influence is seeping into the kids, even if it's not being said outright. Since then, I've been avoiding family gatherings because I just don't feel it's a safe environment for my daughter. I don't want her to go through more hurtful moments like this. I don't want to cause a rift with Sarah. She's been such a huge part of my life and my daughter's life, and the thought of breaking up our family over this is very devastating. But at the same time, I have to protect my daughter and make sure she feels accepted and loved. So, am I the a-hole for not spending time with Sarah's family? I feel like I'm doing what's best for my daughter, but I don't want to damage the relationship with my sister either. And we have some comments, but Dakota, what do you think?
You're not the a-hole. I think you just, and if that's how you feel, like you really communicate that with your sister, where it's like, hey, seems like we're 0 for 2 right now. My daughter comes over and spends time with your family and she gets very upset because of what people are saying.
And there's mean comments, and is your son, and I just want to, set that boundary. But also I would talk to your daughter and see how, if there is a way to move past this, or what we can do, communicate it with the son, like with the cousin in this case, what you can do. But you're doing the right thing, you're mama bearing everything, and you want to do right for your daughter, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And this, right now, you are not the a-hole, you're doing the right thing, but you do need to talk to everyone in this picture before it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, you do, to try to reconcile, but I really do think that you need to.
No, you're doing the right thing.
It's the hard. You're not being the a-hole, but it's like you probably need to have the hard talk that, like, not everybody is going to accept you for who you are, because we don't live in a perfect world.
No. So we're going to comments here. We have a couple. Comment 1. I think you're commendable for looking out for your child. It's the right thing to do. What I'm stuck on is your nephew looking confused when you asked him about it. Not sheepish, guilty, scared, or any other way that would indicate he actually said it, but confused. Confused to me seems like he has no idea what you are talking about. No one heard it at the dinner table with multiple people but your daughter. You might need to consider that he did not actually say that. Maybe ask your sister to come out with you and your daughter. She should bring your nephew along, go on a nice outing together, and then sit down and talk about this incident. Then speak about how we needed to respect people and be kind. Make a discussion out of it with the 2 kids. We do have a reply. He might have been confused because he didn't think there was anything wrong with what he said, and another reply, or because he's just repeating what he heard. Comment number 2. You can only support one, and only one is the person you brought into the world for the sole purpose of supporting. We have an update, and we're going to go straight into it. Apologies for not responding sooner to comments. The attention this post received was overwhelming, and I needed some time to process it all. First, I want to address the trolls. I get the urge to respond to them, but let's be real. These people are just attention-seeking bullies. Our responses only fuel their negativity and give them the platform they crave. Please do not waste your energy on them. To those who message me individually asking questions about people and their experiences, while I can tell some of you are genuinely curious, I can't help but suspect that for others, it's a way to project more phobia under the guise of understanding. If you're genuinely interested in learning, there are countless resources available online that can give you a far deeper and more articulate understanding of the experience than I can. I know this firsthand from helping my own daughter, and I encourage you to explore those resources. Now, onto the update. I knew I'd have to talk to my sister eventually, but I really appreciate all the advice and support that came through the comments. It was invaluable. I had a one-on-one conversation with my sister where I explained that her family was not providing a safe space for my daughter. I told her that I loved her and wanted to maintain our relationship, but that I couldn't continue to be in contact unless there were significant changes. She was understandably upset and defensive, particularly of her son. She fixated on the dinner incident. While I tried to explain that it wasn't just about that one event, there were other instances like my nephew asking my daughter why she didn't want to go to heaven, or asking me if she was mentally ill. Sarah, my sister, was there for both of those moments, so I was shocked she hadn't seen the pattern herself. Yesterday, my sister reached out and asked if we could meet with her and Tim. She apologized for not listening earlier and said she wanted to find a solution. I agreed, and they came over after work. I sent my daughter to the neighbors. She didn't need to be part of that conversation. When they arrived, they were surprised that our daughter wasn't there. I told them that the conversation could be harmful to her, even if they didn't understand why. Tim was visibly upset, but I asked them if they were really ready for this conversation, and they both said they were.
Really quick, I want to point out that I think that was a great move to take the daughter out of that situation, because then you don't want her to feel like she's being attacked, or like she's overwhelmed, where it's like she's being ganged up on by literally her own family.
Two
adults,
yeah.
Like maybe, probably for the best to keep her away from that.
The conversation itself was difficult, to say the least. Tim did most of the talking. I brought up a comment that I had overheard him say, that my daughter should just be a boy until she's 18. He asked me why my daughter couldn't just be normal until she was old enough to make her own decisions. I asked if he had ever done any research about youth to genuinely understand what my daughter is going through. He had said he had all the information he needed and started going off on a diatribe about puberty blockers, which, by the way, my daughter isn't even on. I told him that we were taking her seriously, that she goes to therapy every other week and is involved in local queer/support groups where she can talk to other girls and women about their experiences. Tim's response was that they were the blind leading the blind. At that point, my husband, is usually calm and collected, was so upset that he yelled at them to leave. We'd never seen him like that before, and I think that made them realize how serious the situation was. They scurried out pretty quickly after that. This morning, my sister called crying and apologizing profusely. She was disgusted by Tim's behavior and asked me what she should do. I told her that I didn't know, but I was certain that our families couldn't spend time together until something changed. I'm especially let down because, for a moment, the meeting gave me hope, but Tim completely shattered that hope. He didn't even try. He went off on so many horrible things, not just transphobic, but also sexist and homophobic. It was hard to follow because he just veered from one hateful rant to the other. It's difficult to imagine that someone with that mindset has the capacity to grow or change. Well, with that being said, this is not the best way to segue into this, but you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from, and search OK Storytime, and we'll be there. There's a little bit more left to the story, Dakota. I'm very hopeful because it looks like OP and her husband are the parents that should be that figure. Parents all around.
Yes, no, this is what supporting your child looks like to like the fullest extent. I do think, and I'm not even necessarily assuming they haven't, I'm just saying it's like, this is a great context. It's because it's hard and it's like you got family members who are not accepting you. So it's like you do need to have the conversation of like, here's how to move through this experience, right? Or try to help your daughter move through this experience instead of just shutting it out and trying to put it in like a box or something. You know what I mean?
Just the fact. Well, I'm upset at Sarah in the situation. So OP's sister, that she didn't say anything when Tim was talking most of the time. The fact that she just sat there and just didn't say anything until the next day. Oh, she's calling and crying. Like, where were you in that moment?
Well, they probably don't have the best dynamic. You know, like Tim's probably not a very good guy. I bet you Tim doesn't like it when his wife stands up to him.
But let's go ahead and finish this story. While that conversation was deeply painful, I'm also grateful it was so clear. It's never been so obvious what needs to happen, and I don't feel any guilt about it anymore. Thank you to everyone who gave advice, support, and validation. Your words helped me clear up the fog of what ifs that was clouding my judgment and gave me the confidence to move forward. I appreciate every single one of you who supported my family. Thank you. And that is the end of that story.
And thank you for your story.
Thank you. At this point, you want what's best for your child. You got to do that. If you need to cut off the ties, especially Tim, seems like Sarah again is in a hard place to figure it out, but wants to be there for you and your daughter and your family.
But that is the end of that story. My father discovered he had another daughter, and I want nothing to do with them.
Did she?
We're going to find out, that's for sure. February 20th, 2025. Random account because my brother uses Reddit too. Last year, my dad found out that he had another kid, Mia, 30 female, and a granddaughter, Zoe, 7. Before this, it was me, 17 male, my brother, 20 male, and our parents, 55 male, 52 female. Apparently, he just had a fling with Mia's mom when he was in college, who ghosted him and never told him about being pregnant. By the way, this comes from user routine status 1492, and if you want to submit your stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit and submit them there. So, since finding out it's all my dad talks about, he and Mia texted and called for a couple of months, and then she let him meet Zoe over Zoom. And then last summer, they came to visit us. We live in a big city, and they live a couple states over. My brother was at college, but he even drove back for a weekend to meet them too. Everyone was so excited, except me. Like no one acknowledged how weird the whole thing is. Mia is nice, I guess, but she kept saying how she's so excited to have a family for her and Zoe. I guess her mom's not in the picture. My parents wanted to show them around our city, so anytime I didn't have school or practice, I was being dragged around doing things for tourists and kids. And with that in mind, that was the thing that got on my nerves the most about that trip. Mia's kid, Zoe. who is 7. She was so excited to have a nan and pap and kept calling me Uncle OP. They even came to one of my soccer games that week, and she ran up after in front of my friends to hug me and tell me that she wanted to play soccer now too because her uncle is the best on the team.
Oh, you are being such a teenager because that's the sweetest thing ever.
Wow. When they visited over winter break, it was a lot of the same stuff. My parents got them a ton of presents, and Zoe kept asking me questions and asking to play games with her. I also found out that my dad is sending them money each month since Mia's job doesn't pay that well. I tried confiding in my brother about it, but he seems totally fine and says it's making our parents really happy to have more family. Anyway, my dad just told me they're coming up again in a couple of weeks, and I snapped. I admit that I raised my voice a bit and asked why he cares so much about people he met less than a year ago. Everyone keeps saying Mia and Zoe are family, but they didn't grow up with us, and I literally can't see them as actual family. I also said she's probably just using him for the money, which I know was probably a wiener move. But he said he's the one that insisted on sending the money, and he feels guilty for not being there in her life. But it still feels so weird. So I told him I'm not going to do anything with them while they're here. Now he's saying that if I can't be a team player in the family, he'll have to reconsider taking me on our family vacation this year, which I guess they're also going on. My mom's on his side, saying Mia had a hard life, so it's natural she's excited to have a family and that she loves having more girls in the house every once in a while. My friends are the only ones on my side. I mean, your 17-year-olds?
Yeah, you're the other 17-year-olds in your life.
They said they'd find it weird if random people just showed up one day to be in their family. Verdict, a-hole. Yes. Here's some top comments. Comment number 1. You're the a-hole. I understand this can be a hard adjustment. You're not the baby anymore, and that can be jarring. There's a kid in the picture when you're used to being the youngest, but here's the thing. You're still acting more like a baby than the actual 7-year-old. Like it or not, they are family. Maybe not your family if you don't consider them as such, but they're your dad's family, your mom's family, your brother's family, and by proxy, you're involved. They have done nothing wrong except act like a family. Your parents and brother have done nothing wrong by welcoming them as family. Saying Mia is using her father for money is an a-hole move, and you owe them an apology. You need to self-reflect and realize why this is pressing you so bad. Talk with your parents, your school counselor, ask for therapy, or do anything to figure this out. Again, having conflicting emotions over this is valid, but the way you've been acting is not. Identify the problem and note the problem isn't Mia. It isn't Zoe. It is within you.
That was a good comment.
That was
saying like you're allowed to be like, you know, kind of confused and all, but you need to talk with your parents about this.
Agreed. We have another comment here. Commenter number 2, you are the a-hole, and asked why he cared so much about people who met him less than a year ago. Because it's his kid and grandkid? Of course he effing cares. I also said she's probably just using him for the money. No need to lash out because you're having trouble with this. There's other ways to express yourself. They said they'd find it weird if random people, well, guess what? They're not random. They are his kid and grandkid. But I guess this is how a 17-year-old would see it. I'm sure this is a big adjustment for you, but you're 17 and playing the petulant kid ain't gonna work. You can spend your time being salty and nasty about this and ostracize your dad in the process, or you can try and move on with the family. Get to know these relatives, and maybe have fun. Commenter 3 says, I'm not going to call you an a-hole. Boo! Boo this commenter. This kid's being an a-hole.
Gotta call them out, man. But they're going to be nice. They're going to be nice, man.
Sure, they're going to be nice. Let's see. You're 17 and having trouble dealing with this new change. You can't take it out on others, though, especially not letting Mia and the kid know about any of this. Simply ask your dad to take this slow and not force you to be around them. That ain't magically going to make you like them. Sure, this isn't about you, but you're also the one dealing with this change, so it's not fair to ask you to just up. Commenter number 4, you said that since he found out, Mia and Zoe are all he talks about. It's been a year. Is that still true, or was that only true for the first couple of months where he was still reeling from the life-altering news that he had a kid that he's never met? If it's still true, then I give you a bit of a pass. No one is great at communication at your age, and that's if you've really examined which parts of the situation really bother you. Assuming they are all he talks about, he dropped his interest in your life. He thinks that they're perfect and you're not, acting like a better dad for her than for you. What is it that's stabbing your brain? If that's not true, you need to examine yourself anyway. All these same questions, but I give you less of a pass if your dad found his footing and is back to normal, interested in your life, paying attention to your decisions, giving advice for your future, showing up to your games, showing up for you outside of generalized family time. Is it just that you literally don't know them, but everyone is acting like they do? Is it just that it takes you time to warm up to people and no one is respecting that? What is it really? Commenter, stop giving OP the leeway. OP's just being an a-hole.
That was a nice comment, though.
It's nice, but
I think it's trying to figure out why OP is being an a-hole is the question.
Because OP's like, that's not my family.
But that's the thing. OP probably doesn't know why they're reacting this way, which doesn't make it right. But it does mean that, like, you know, they need to figure out what is the root of these feelings.
From the title of this and from the way OP's acting, it's like I would understand this reaction if this was a secret family that OP's dad had been like taken care of and like been present for years and years and years, and now is trying to like fold the secret family into the general family. Yeah. But that's not the case. Secret family was secret from dad as well.
Yeah.
Threatening to leave you off the family vacation is a wiener move, so I guess you come by that honestly. Even more so if he actually does it. Y'all need to have multiple conversations about this situation, probably with a therapist, because as I said above, it's going to be hard for you to really articulate how and why you feel like you do. If he doesn't listen to you or continues to dismiss how you feel, then he is the butt. That doesn't mean that I think he's wrong for accepting his daughter and granddaughter with an open heart. Your mom and brother aren't wrong for not finding the situation weird. They're allowed to feel how they feel. You don't get to dictate that any more than they do for you. And there is an update 6 days after the original post. Let's dig into it. Thanks to everyone who gave me actual advice rather than just calling me a spoiled a-hole about the situation with no further comment. I was actually able to think through my emotions and formulate a plan forward.
Well, there we
go.
Sometimes you just need the comments that were like, you're being a little brat, but here, let's...
Right. You can't just tell the kid, yeah, you're an a-hole, and then like move on. You gotta be like, help.
It's like, this is why, or at least this is why I think. Go talk to your parents. Yeah.
Anyway, I sat down with my parents on Sunday and we had a productive conversation. I apologized for snapping last week and told them that I was just having a difficult time with the amount of changes over the year and it had built up. Through reading your comments, I realized that these feelings were probably coming from the fact that I am, as many of you guessed, the youngest on both sides of the family. There had always been a lot of emphasis on that, and with it being my senior year, I kind of expected a bit more of the spotlight than I'm getting. I also think having my brother being away at school put most of the expectations on me to be a good son or brother or uncle or host. I was feeling a little resentment that he was able to escape back to his campus while I was stuck at home. I was pinning those feelings on Mia and Zoe, which I recognize isn't fair. My parents also apologized for not checking in with me more often about how I was feeling. I asked if I could opt out of some activities when Mia and Zoe visit so I could still enjoy my spring break with friends. In compromise, I would make more of an effort to engage with them in general, like maybe playing soccer with Zoe. Stop being a brat, dude.
Go play
soccer with the 7-year-old.
Go play soccer with
Do people just hate kids? Look, this is all the proof you need that I do not hate kids indiscriminately. I would be, as soon as the kid runs up to me and goes, I don't want to play soccer because you're the best, I'd be like, well, you are my sister for life now.
Kimberly Fine says, kids doing bad behavior aren't always conscious of the fact that it's harmful to someone else.
Exactly.
They just know that they're coping or it makes them feel better or at least stimulated in a less negative way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The person that he trusted the most, it seems like in this situation, was his older brother. And his older brother was just like, dude, it's nothing. Like, this is, brush it off your shoulder. And like, the older brother should have seen it as like a, my brother's not okay kind of thing.
Well, older brother's also been in college. Not present the whole time, so maybe that's more of a... But regardless, you can always be present in our college, which is what I'm going to call the archive of full episodes with stories like this. And you can listen to our college archive if you just go to iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, search OK Storytime, and there you will find the library, so to speak. And we do have a little bit more story left.
Study hall.
Let's finish it off.
Let's read it.
Ultimately, I've realized that my sister and niece aren't going anywhere, and I have to sort out my feelings about that.
Yeah.
I do think me going to college out of state in a couple of months will help give me my own space, but for now, I'll try to make more of an effort to integrate them into my life. Comment 1, nicely done, seriously, good job.
Yay.
You're a good soul, kid. OP handled the situation much better than most of the adults. Comment 3, you seem like a really sweet kid that just needed some guidance in re-regulating. The amount of self-reflection you've done is admirable. Proud of you, stranger. Commenter 4, probably literally just the same thing, and that is the end.
A mother at my daughter's kindergarten breaks brainwashed her and it worked.
You gotta throw some dirt in that brain, make it unwashed again.
I am a working mother of an adorable 4-year-old girl, Katie, and have a really good job, which I landed straight after uni. My partner and her father, let's call him Jay, is completing his PhD. Due to our workload, our little one is going to a small kindergarten near our place. By the way, this comes from Throw Mom, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. One day, my daughter came up to me for cuddles after work and asked me, Mummy, when are you going to stop working? I assumed she meant when I'm taking my summer holidays off, and I told her in a few months so we can visit Grandma and Grandpa. After further discussion, I realized she meant, when am I quitting my job permanently? I asked her what made her think that, and she said, Mummy's are for home and Daddy's are for work. I was dumbfounded and asked her where she heard this. I was pretty upset as that was the opposite of what I want to teach my kid, and she definitely did not hear this from my partner or myself. Visibly upset, I asked her how did this occur to her, but got no answer from her. I went the next day at school and asked the teacher whether such discussions have been made in class. She said no, and I went on my way. The next few days, my daughter became more distant and started saying that I'm not a good mummy and that she doesn't like how Daddy or Anna, her babysitter, picked her up from care. I am the one who drops her off. And in general, complaining mostly about me having to work. I sat her down again calmly and asked her, what's going on? Those things had never been a problem before in my family, and she seemed to enjoy her after school time with her dad or babysitter. Again, she didn't say anything and just asked me when she can go play with her new friend from daycare. Being at my rope's end, I asked my pedopsychologist friend to sit down and have a chat with my daughter and see where the problem lies. Lo and behold, May's mom, who had been supervising their playtimes a couple of times and at whose place my daughter has been, was making digs about me being a working mother. May's mom, Jen, 30 female, is a homemaker while her husband works in the banking sector. She seemed quite pleasant, and we've been around their place a couple of times before accompanying my daughter. Due to this, I trusted her to supervise my kid and have her at her place. I should mention that she's been insisting that my partner and I visit their place more often, but with a job, a PhD, and a kid, it's impossible. Anyway, from what my friend told me, the drilling has been going on for a couple of months. And Katie told her that her mom's friend always does all these nice things and asks her if she likes that she's always home making all those nice things and making herself pretty. Really? I can't even believe I'm typing these things. I cannot believe this is happening. I haven't confronted Jen yet, but I think I should. What do I say? I don't want my daughter to lose her friend due to her crazy mom, but these two haven't been hanging out much outside of daycare. My daughter is still pissy and complains at her dad and Anna when they come to pick her up every single day. And there is an update. I posted a few weeks ago about a mother in my daughter's kindergarten that made comments about stay-at-home moms being better than working moms. Nothing could prepare me for what followed. Warning. Very long post ahead. One thing I'd like to clarify from the comments I received was that I am not an absentee mother from my daughter's life, despite being a working mom. I am as involved as it gets. Katie has spent as many times at Jen's as May has spent at ours. I've been playing with the girls quite often when they're about and took them to the park, museums, etc., but this isn't the point. On the Katie frontier, our relationship has made a full recovery, and we are a strong unit again. I am so happy to have my daughter back, and we enjoy our moments together. She has even been asking to come to the office again and take her to my next outreach event. So the day after I made this post, Jay goes to pick Katie from kindergarten, and our favorite mom is there. She asks whether Katie wants to come over to play, and her and my partner can grab a coffee in the meantime. Jay declines, but she insists. Finally, the girls come out. Then Jen asks the girls whether they want to go play. Both of the little ones agree enthusiastically. Jay asked to be the bad cop and say another time because of other plans. He said he thought of letting Jen know why, but he's not very confrontational.
See, like, she's already weaponizing the children.
Yeah.
Do it
you
back.
said no, and then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to ask them anyway, and they're going to hate you. Couple of days go by, and Anna has been doing the kindergarten run due to Jay running experiments late. Jen asks again for a play date, and Anna knows to say no. Weekend comes, and Jay gets a text from Jen asking if he's busy and maybe he could bring Katie over. Jay replied that we want some time with our daughter for the weekend as a family. No reply. In the meantime, Katie had another session with my psychology friend. One of the things that got out is that Jen asks a lot about daddy. I took the next few days off as Jay was working from home, and I decided it would be nice to spend some extra time as a family. Hence, duty of picking Katie up became mine. Jen is there, and I try to start some sort of conversation by politely saying hi. She just briefly turns at me, replies with hi, and turns her head again. That's completely uncharacteristic of her, but I suspect she realizes that we are avoiding any further playdates. I thought of asking if May could come over, but her cold demeanor discouraged me completely. She says bye-bye to Katie when we are leaving. Okay. A few days after I'm back from work, Katie comes back with 2 cupcakes. 2. One for me, one for Daddy, she explains. Anna said that Jen gave them to her at pickup time and explained who gets what. No cupcake for me. I start joining the dots at that point. We discussed with Jay her odd behavior, and we thought that the best idea was to ignore her, not even thank her for the cupcakes, and have Anna pick Katie from school. Jay is getting his final results for a publication, so he cannot do it from now on anyway. So Jen keeps texting and even calling Jay. Never me. I'm an invisible working mother. Jay stops replying and picking up until 2 days ago. He asked Jen, what's the matter with the calls and texts? And Jen starts with, oh, you know, May's missing a child friend and has been pestering me the whole time. Only children need their friends. Blah, blah, blah. Then my dear partner decides he's had enough and he has a go at her. Properly. He starts off with how we don't appreciate her comments aimed towards me being a working mother, and that singling me out on various occasions is not okay at all. And then it started. After a while, Jay put her on loudspeaker so I could hear the spectacle. Jen starts saying how unfair it is for him that his woman cannot take care of him, and how she's trying to be sympathetic of him being stuck with a career witch who only cares about her job and not her man and child. Jay is flabbergasted, but he manages to reply that that is not the case, and he is happy with all this, and he needs no sympathy, thanks but no thanks. He prefers other people to stay out of our business. Then she goes on about how our daughter is starved of motherly love, and how she can see it in her eyes, and that she's trying to be a mother figure for her. Jay again replies that he does not understand her motivation behind this, and that what she's talking about is completely unfounded. By that point, she's on loudspeaker, but didn't realize. She went on a tirade, about how she and Jay would be perfect and understand each other. They have both been neglected by their career-starved spouses, and that she can tell from the way he looks at her that he wants her too. She spent the next few minutes going on about all the signals that were there, and how Katie and May are practically sisters already, and that she knew they could make it all together and be happy. Jay and I were just looking at each other. I suspected that Jen had a crush on him after the cupcake incident, but that was too much. Jay finally spoke up and said that she was being absurd, and that he would prefer that she stays away from our daughter and our family in general. I took my turn saying that I heard most of the conversation and I wanted her to delete our numbers and never bother us again. She said that Jay has been lying all this time to me and they have been sleeping together.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
And
the
I'm
pigs
the
are
freaking
flying.
Queen of England.
Yeah.
God save the queen.
Call me King Charles because I'm not real.
God save the queen.
She then hung up. That was some crazy crap that we never saw coming. We both blocked her mobile and home number and decided to pull Katie from the kindergarten. She will be temporarily attending the daycare program at Jay's University. Our phones have been receiving some anonymous calls and texts from another number. We are unsure how to proceed on that. Anyway, that was some fatal attraction crap right there. I hope that this is all behind us. And there is a second update, so I reckon it probably isn't all behind us.
Are the police getting involved?
It's not all teas and crumpets.
I posted these a few months ago, and given it all generated some interest, I decided to post the conclusion. In the end, things kind of solved themselves. After all the advice you guys gave me, I decided to speak with May's dad and tell him what happened before ordering a restraining order on Jen. We needed to look into that as well, as we are not U.S. residents. The harassment continued for a couple of days, and it prompted me to write him an email. His work email was the only contact detail I had. Turns out I didn't have to. 3 days after my post, May and her dad appeared on our doorstep. He was apologizing profusely before we said anything. We just sort of stood there. He appeared calm and composed, but you could tell he was quite distraught. Apparently, he knew that something was off for a while, and she's been mentioning Jay as an example father for a while. Lately, he noticed Jen getting out of bed in the middle of the night with her phone. She was indeed calling in the night sometimes, and being irritable in general. At first, he suspected an affair between her and Jay and decided he should contact me. He snooped her phone, laptop, and found a second phone he didn't know about and started looking into things. When he saw all those messages, he decided to confront her and all heck broke loose. They had a screaming match where Jen was verbally attacking him with May present. Poor kid. She was also talking crap about me, about how awesome Jay would be, the whole shebang. At the end, she tried to attack him in front of their kid, and that's when he grabbed May and left. He asked her to leave in 3 hours or else he'd call the cops on her. He then mentioned that Jen and himself had marital problems for a while. She was supposed to be a stay-at-home mother in order to raise their daughter, take care of their amazing place, and potentially expand their family. He comes from old money, he didn't say it that way, and he was happy that he found a woman to share his values with. Instead, he had to pay people to do most of the things around the house, have May in the kindergarten while Jen focused on her image. Expanding their family became soon out of the question, and she has been quite resentful and neurotic for a while. We laid out the timeline of events, and he took it calmly. He made sure no one was hurt and that Jen hadn't been around our place. She somehow hadn't, and asked whether we wanted to press charges. We mentioned the restraining order, and he said that it would actually be beneficial for everyone involved. He was very apologetic about us having to pull Katie out of the kindergarten and all the we sustained. He seemed to have learned his lesson about being so absent from home. I forgot to mention that while he was at ours, Jay's phone blew up with texts and calls from a random number. The messages ranged from how Jay had ruined her life to how her heartless husband left her and took their kid and she needs support and somewhere to stay. What the actual heck? We set the motions for the restraining order the next day, and she stopped initiating any sort of contact. After a while, her now ex-husband called us to thank us for everything and give us a small update. Wow. The fact that Jen got a restraining order on top of him having access to top lawyers and the whole harmful act incident, I assume, has granted him temporary custody of their daughter, and he hopes to make it permanent. I feel like
only temporary.
Yeah, that's insane. I feel like you would be, maybe it's only temporary because they have to go through more.
She was trying to steal someone's husband at our child's daycare and then verbally and physically assaulted me in front of our child.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you have the kid for a week.
And also she's got they've got a restraining order against her now. So I feel like one should help.
Give the man that child.
He intends to move to a country home near his parents where May is for now. From what I have seen from him, I bet she will soon be educated at some of the best boarding schools around.
Indeed. Oh.
By the way, you can listen to some of the best full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. As for Jen, it seems she won't get much custody of their daughter in the end. Didn't mention much about her, and I don't want to hear about her either. My family is doing well. We have left all those things behind us, but I am willing to leave a door open for May and her father, and my partner is happy with that as well. We also have a new puppy.
Yay!
Anyway, thank you for all the advice. I wonder if was the puppy always gonna happen, or was your daughter like, why can't I see my friend? And you were like, puppy, and she's
This is your friend now.
Yeah.
This is your friend now,
This is
puppy.
your friend now.
But that is the end of that story. I scolded my daughter after she paid someone to do a chore that I had asked her to do.
You're going to scold your daughter for being a young, intrepid entrepreneur?
It's called delegation. I'm a single dad to a 15-year-old girl. We live in an area where we get a lot of donations.
Riley was gifted a membership.
Dude, Riley just got gifted a membership?
Around the time she was 11, I taught her how to shovel, and usually we do it together. We have a decent-sized driveway and walkway. Sometimes, if it's too icy, I'll do the whole thing myself. By the way, this comes from OK Nectarine 791. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, over the weekend, we got some unexpected snow while I was at work. I called my daughter and asked that she shovel out a bit of the driveway so I'll have room to park and get out the next day, as well as shovel the walkway and steps. She said yes. When I came home, the entire driveway was shoveled and the walkway and steps were cleared perfectly. I thanked her and said she did a good job. She then told me that when she went out to shovel, she saw our neighbor, who's a couple years older than her, was shoveling his walkway. She offered him $40 of her own money to shovel for her, and he accepted. I told her that I had asked her to shovel, not the neighbor, and it was something assigned to her. She asked what the big deal was as it got done. She also pointed out when she has her own house someday, she can easily just pay someone to do it so she doesn't have to do it. I told her she wasn't in trouble, but next time it snowed, she was helping me shovel and going forward if I asked her to do it. She was expected to do it. She seemed a little disappointed, but didn't argue. I was talking to my mom about the situation, and she told me I completely overreacted and pointed out my daughter as a point. The job got done, and it shouldn't matter how it gets done as long as it does. And the neighbor kid willingly did it, which I confirmed with him later that he was happy to do it for the extra cash. My mom says I should have praised my daughter's initiative. So now I'm left wondering if I was the a-hole for lecturing my daughter on this. To those asking, she got the money from babysitting. She works for a different neighbor twice a week and is paid $18 an hour. We've had talks about money constantly over the years, ever since she was old enough to receive birthday and Christmas money and decide how to spend it. She knows the value of the dollar, that once you spend money, it's gone, and to think before you buy. She says to her, this was worth the $40. And to those asking why it bugged me, I thank you because I wasn't even sure myself. I think I just want to make sure that she has these skills, but I also understand people's points that she has the skill and she can now decide to use it if she's in a situation like this one. But there are some comments. Top comment, you're the a-hole. Look, it wasn't until you said it was something assigned to her that I realized it was assigned to her and not a task you wanted done. I think you weren't ever clear this was a chore, something that yes, can be passed off, but there's value in doing yourself, something that just needs to get done. OP says, you have a good point there, and I didn't look at it that way. Commenter says, usually we do it together, so she can and does shovel the snow sometimes. Just this one time, she didn't feel like doing the physical labor. Shoveling snow is tiring for some reason, so she used her own means to ensure the task was completed, and you're mad at her? Did you even ask her why she felt the need to do so? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Next time, she just won't tell you someone helped out. And OP says, yes, usually she will do it and never give me a hard time about that or any of her chores. I asked her why she did it, and she said she'd rather be in the warmth than shovel in the freezing snow, which I did admit was fair. Commenter says, did you ever sit down with your daughter and talk about the worth of money, saving, etc.? Does she have a job or does she get pocket money? Is $40 a reasonable amount for the time spent shoveling a driveway? Does she know how long you would have to work to earn $40? Opie says, yes, we have lots of talks about money. She earned the money from babysitting. We're always talking about the value of a dollar and saving, even back when she was a kid and was just getting birth money and the like. I also mentioned to her that now this money is gone, and she says it's worth it to her as she'd rather have been warm than freezing and wet. I don't know if she understands how much it costs to hire housekeepers and stuff, but she also didn't say she wanted to hire one when she was older, just that she'd hire someone to shovel. I checked that going rate in our area and it seems to be $40, depending on the length of time, so it was fair. I think it's good people are forcing me to see the why here, because I'm not sure if I even know why I was perturbed by it. I guess a part of me just wants her to have these skills and to use them, which we already know she does because she's shoveled the driveway.
She has the skills. This is just a matter of like, what is it you want to even try to talk to her about?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Exactly.
That's
you
all
need
we're
to figure
discussing
out
here.
what you're upset about, and then is it like, making sure that she doesn't keep doing this and spending money when she could be saving money, but it seems like she's not doing that either.
Just be like, you wasted.
Which
You should pay that kid $15 and giving him a cookie. All right.
Like, what if someone can't shovel for her one day and she needs to do it, but she is a very responsible kid otherwise, so maybe I was too harsh. Commenter says, also, not for nothing, she used part of the $40 she earned babysitting to cover the other half of the driveway that you would have done. So basically, she subsidized you with, say, $20. Yeah, so basically, you owe her $20.
There's way too much focus on the $40 here in money. It's really like, this is ridiculous.
Since she does know how to shovel and she knows how to babysit, if she chooses to recoup that $40 babysitting in exchange for leisure instead of shoveling, why wouldn't that be okay? It's the basis of an economy. Opie says, you raise a very good point. She still worked either way and learned the value of money. Commenter says, why does it matter to you that she followed your example by hiring someone to do unpleasant work at 15 rather than 25? Is this one of those, I had to do this when I was your age, so you have to suffer too kind of things? Opie says, no, it's not that. I admitted I was wrong and I was short-sighted to think this way. I just think I was caught off guard by her doing it so young. But you're right, it's not a big deal, and I'm going to apologize and tell her she can do it again if she so chooses. Not everything is some malicious game. Sometimes parents just make mistakes, and there is an update.
How is there an update? This is crazy. There's so... Why is this much?
The snow is important.
I think that last comment really touched on what I'm getting at, which is that like, she's like, why does it matter that she pays to do like this like miserable work? But it's like, if you can just like do the work, then it's not miserable. I don't know. It's hard to I'm having a difficult time expressing what I think fair. I'm thinking here, but it's like a Mai Tai. Like, okay, Mai Tai is like a martial art and they like do a lot of kicks, right? these Mai Tai people will like
Mai
they'll
Tai?
like kick like a tree,
Mai
and their
Tai.
shins, it hurts their shins so bad.
Mai
But
Tai.
after they've kicked the tree like a lot,
So her
their
sh-
shins become
I'm sorry.
iron.
I'm sorry.
It's
Mai
the
Tai?
same concept of that. It's that like sure something can be miserable,
Yeah.
but if you just never do it, of course it's going to be miserable forever. But
Honey.
if you do it to the point where now it's not miserable anymore,
I don't.
you've developed almost a
Muay Thai.
resistance to the misery that life will throw at you every day of your life.
Mai Tai.
Yeah,
Muay Thai.
whatever,
Mai Tai,
dude.
yeah.
Get
Mai
out
Tai's
of
a
here.
drink.
Go
Okay.
back.
To respond to that really quick before we get into this update. So
Milk.
basically, snow is, getting the snow out of the driveway is the wax on, wax off in your mind.
Getting the snow out of the driveway
Yeah.
is kicking the iron bars with your leg,
okay.
and it's gonna. Yeah, it's
but
not great.
my thing is, my point is, I've never shoveled a driveway of snow, but I feel like it never gets better.
But see, that's exactly.
Yes,
But
it
that's what I'm talking about.
I feel like it never gets better. And my second
It
point
literally does.
is if I have the option to go take my car to a drive-through car wash instead of washing it by hand, I will do that every time.
But you'll always get a better wash washing it by hand.
Absolutely, I
every
will.
time.
But I don't have to do it.
That's fair. All I'm saying is that, like,
Yeah.
I know for a fact it gets easier because of that job. And
Mai
at
Tai.
the beginning of that job, shoveling out the front of that restaurant, a month into it, it was like we had it down to a science. It wasn't.
you
It
had
wasn't
team.
anything anymore.
But there is more.
Oh,
3
yeah.
hours later, I want to thank everyone who talked some sense into me. You all were right. It really doesn't matter how it gets done. As well as the fact that, yes, there are times I contract outwork of my own, so it's unfair to expect otherwise of her. One of my main priorities is that she's able to do things on her own. I won't always be around to help, and I want her to be independent, but I realize now this was her being independent and getting something done, just in a different way. I spoke with her and apologized for lecturing her. I also added I was proud of her for taking initiative and explained why I reacted the way I did. Additionally, I thanked her for getting it done, regardless of how it was. She forgave me and everything is good now. We did have another talk about money, but she insists that's how she wanted to spend it, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. But she says she appreciates me admitting I was wrong. I told her next time she can either hire the neighbor again or do it herself. I don't care as long as it's what they both want. And what I want is for you to listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. And there is a little bit left of this.
To be clear, no one literally. There's
No
no.
one's done
I don't
anything
even know
wrong.
why
This
there
is
was
just a
ever a
greater-
problem in this story. Like it should have just been like, oh wow, that was clever of you hiring the neighbor, and then you could just be like, here's what I think about doing a job, whatever. Like it's not even like a you did something wrong, you did something
Exactly.
bad at all.
No, it's just like, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
My last point on this before we finish this story off is how much do you order out to eat?
What do you mean?
How much do you pick up food day to day?
That's
ready-made?
But way too much.
There you go. Let's finish the story off. Some people said I should force her to put more into savings. She already puts a good amount away on her own. I'm going to continue to let her decide what works for her. Also, to those going to either extremes, that either one, I was wrong for having her shovel because she's a girl, or two, assuming I only make her do chores and expecting her to do them herself because she's a girl. I love the two sides of the comments. It's like, you shouldn't make her do that because she's a girl, or you're making her do that because she's a girl. You're wrong. I do everything that I ask her to do, and I also occasionally contract out tasks. I don't care if she does it in the future. This was a genuine mistake on my part and not anything malicious, where I expect more/less of my daughter because she's a girl. And that's the end of that story.
Goral.
I refuse to give my mother's ring to my queer daughter because it's for the next born daughter.
Are you sure it's not because your daughter's queer? Are we 100% certain you're not being a bigot right now? Are we sure?
I posted this on the Am I the A-hole and they removed it because one of the mods really thinks I'm an a-hole.
Wait, what? That's not why they removed it.
I have added a few more details in here that people asked about before it was removed. I haven't removed anything. A few people said that if this is me trying to sound like I'm not an a-hole, then I must be a huge a-hole in real life. This is me being as real about these things as I can.
I'm just being real, dude.
By the way, this comes from a non-jewelry, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, I, male 52, have 2 children. We'll call Bob, male 26, and Meg, female 22. Meg was born male, but began to transition to female a year ago. My dad gave my mom a very large and expensive diamond ring for their 30th wedding anniversary. And when she passed away in 2009, her will stated that everything went to my dad except the ring, which is to pass on to the next born female in our family. I only have one sibling, a brother, and like me, he didn't have a daughter. So we just figured one of us would eventually have a granddaughter and she would get the ring. The ring was last appraised in 2004 for $1.2 million.
What?
I do not know what it's worth now. Meg and I have always had a contentious relationship. She was always having problems in school, always causing problems with her mom and brother, wouldn't listen to anyone, had never held a job for more than a few weeks, has been arrested for shoplifting, just been a tough kid to raise. She still lives with us and we're basically still paying for everything. A few weeks ago, she said that she wants my mother's ring. I thought she was kidding, but when I said no and kind of laughed about it, she exploded and called me all kinds of names and threw food all over the kitchen before storming out. I wanted to change the locks while she was gone, but I calmed down because I know that would probably lead to a bad outcome. My wife initially agreed with me, but has now started to think that Meg should get the ring. I am absolutely not going to give her the ring, and here is why. It would fracture my relationship with my brother. I am not 100% sure that Meg didn't transition specifically to get this ring.
I mean,
what?
No, but like 1.4 billion, that's fair.
That's crazy, though. I'm sorry. That's crazy.
I don't think people appreciate the absurd lengths that people would go to acquire something worth that much money.
But
of course, that's an absurd thing.
This is absurd. That's absurd.
But it is not a 0% chance, which is in a way even more absurd.
She has said several times that we're dumb not to sell it. A lot of people really took issue with this, and that's the reason my post was deleted. While it's very extreme to transition just to get a ring, children have unalived their parents for less money.
Yeah.
Who do you think your daughter is? Meg has already asked her grandparents and us for her share of her inheritance. I hate the thought of it too, and I hope it's not true. Even though this wasn't an issue my mother ever thought about, I am positive that she wouldn't want a trans female to have the ring. She wanted the ring to be passed down from daughter to daughter so that no one could ever lose it in a divorce. Currently, my daughter dates women, which could lead to the exact problem my mom wanted to avoid. Someone mentioned she could detransition after getting the ring. Even though I'm not happy about it, I am willing to accept my daughter as she is, and I try my best to not use her passed away name and use the right pronouns. A lot of people said a lot of hateful things about me being transphobic, and if that's how you feel, consider that I still support her. She's on my insurance, and I pay for her medication that insurance doesn't. It's been hard on the whole family, and we're doing the best we can. Her doctor said that being transgender may be the reason she struggled so much growing up. And at the end of the day, I just want my kids to be healthy and happy. I don't feel like I'm being an a-hole here, but with my wife starting to question the situation, I thought maybe I'd get some outside perspectives. And a couple of additions, since people are asking. The ring is in a safety deposit box in another city. Meg doesn't even know who to contact in order to see if she'd be eligible for the ring. In that sense, I'm stopping her getting the ring. I am not sure what the exact wording of the will is, but it's a legal document and very specific about how the ring should be transferred. If one of us has a cis granddaughter that isn't responsible and would want to sell the ring, I would do all I could to stop the transfer. But unless there are stipulations in the will for that, which there might be, I would really have no choice. I have not told Meg that I suspect she transitioned just to get the ring. I was talking to my wife about it because so many people have mentioned how crazy that is, and it doesn't seem crazy to me. And my wife verbalized it better than I did. She's always treated us, but especially me, like a resource, not like family. And that is your argument that you should have been using the whole time. That is an argument that you could have made, and everyone probably would have been like, yeah, your daughter seems like, she's just using you guys for money because she's grown up wealthy her whole life. And if you said that, I probably would have been like, huh, but you've only said the worst things that came out of your mind.
She wants the ring.
Comment 1. Hey, OP, my older sister acts very similarly to Meg, but she's not trans. Let's take trans out of the equation. Meg throws tantrums and has said she'd sell the ring. Trust me, she'll do just that. My sister stole and sold my grandmother's ring that was supposed to come to me. She also stole and sold my Scottish great-grandmother's platinum bracelet that was supposed to come to me. I can't get those things back. My older sister is now in jail at 38 for not paying her registration and car insurance. Comment 2, get a replica ring made, give it to Meg, and see how quickly she sells it. Reply says, honestly, that's diabolical, but it's prove OP's point pretty fast. I played off like it's legit, even after the fact. Oh, it's not actually valuable? Well, it's meant as an heirloom, so that wasn't the point anyway. Or another reply says, shady as crap, but probably necessary, TBH. The ring is essentially an engagement marriage ring, and if Meg isn't getting married, then there's no reason for Meg to want the ring. That's the type of ring you give to your future son-in-law when he asks for permission to marry your daughter, or the type of ring you give to them when they announce their engagement. So I'm questioning why Meg wants it, especially now. There is an update. I contacted the law firm that set up the will and got some clarification on the actual terms. Long story short, there is language in it that stops Meg from being eligible to claim the ring. There's also exclusions for being attracted to the same gender and for being untrustworthy, amongst other things.
The bigot contract rears its head finally.
Wow.
It's
so
a bigot contract.
We're going to use the bigot contract. Cool.
Yeah.
In addition to the specific exclusions outlined in the will, anyone can inherit it or be blocked if my brother, my father, and I all vote for it. I remember when my parents set this up, it was such a big deal. It was going to be their legacy. They immigrated to the U.S. while my mom was pregnant with me, and it was very important to them to set down roots. And this was going to be the thing that would bind our family together for generations and keep the story of their trials and eventual success relevant to our bloodline. I hadn't thought about the ring in a long time. Why would I? We weren't planning on having any more kids, and neither was my brother. So that generation wasn't going to get it. So why would it matter what the actual terms were? When my daughter started to transition, it didn't even occur to me that it might make her eligible for the inheritance. That's how far removed from my day-to-day life the ring is. Now that this has all happened, I've given a lot of critical thought to what this ring really is and what it will, in all probability, accomplish. Honestly, almost all the comments that I got on here were helpful, so thank you. Unless you accused me of naming my daughter Meg because of Family Guy or saying that this is an episode of Family Guy. I have spoken to my brother. I told him that Meg asked for the ring, and I said no without even knowing the terms of the will. He agreed that Meg has too many problems to get the ring, and like me, he hadn't even thought about the ring since the will happened. I asked him what we should do if one of our kids has a daughter, and she's totally irresponsible and wants to pawn the ring. He agreed that it would be a problem that he wouldn't want. Then I told him that I just don't see this working out the way our mom had thought it would. That depending on the economic conditions by the time it's inherited, it might just be a race to see who can have the first girl so they can sell it and have some security. The further away from my mom it gets, the less sentimental value it has. He agreed with all my points. I suggested that we sell it and set up a trust in our mother's name that gives all of our kids several payments to make their transition into adulthood easier. Maybe a payout at 18, 21, and 30. My brother likes the idea, but the only way we can do this is convince my dad. He's 83 and still pretty sharp, but his wife's memory and legacy is very important to him. So I have no idea if it's something he'll even consider. So that's where we are. Thanks for your input. And edit, the value for the ring is for insurance purposes. I don't know anything about jewelry. According to the helpful people here, the ring is worth somewhere between 10 and 80% of the value.
That's a spectrum.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get a new valuation if we go forward with the sale. I don't really know anything about the ring other than it's a single large diamond. So many hateful people on here talking crap about my passed away mom. You are really cool. My mom had some bad antiquated ideas, but she was a great mom. You also have some bad antiquated ideas.
Yeah. It's like she was a great mom because you fit into her idea of what a human being is allowed to be.
You have those same ideas. You didn't learn too much. I had a great childhood, and my kids, whom she loved very much, also have great memories of her. So enjoy hating on an old passed away woman. I'm sure it depresses the other slugs on here. I won't hate on your mom, but I just am disappointed in you.
That's what I'm here for, folks. You telling me not to hate on your mom is really makes me want to hate on your mom.
But there are some comments to finish the story off. Comment 1, my brother works in a business that buys old jewelry, gold, and diamonds. Based on his experience and inheritance, it's very possible that you are making a mountain out of an anthill, and the ring is not as valuable as you think. And there is an update. I spoke to my dad for the first time in nearly a year. I got my brother on, and we presented him with what we saw as the problem with mom's ring being passed to daughter. I should mention that after I talked to my brother about establishing a trust that gave all kids and grandkids a payment to help them become adults, he had another idea for the ring. Sell the ring and use the proceeds to buy/build a house around Big Sur, California, which was our mom's favorite place on earth. Name the house after her and let all the kids, grandkids use it however they want. I like that idea too, so we were going to propose both to our dad. He immediately shot both of them down. He did agree that it's very possible that whoever gets it will just sell it and that it could cause strife. but it's her will that is being passed on, and he wants to ensure that her wishes are fulfilled. My dad did like the idea of a house in Big Sur for the family and said he might look into doing that and asked if we could be interested in helping, which we are, so that may materialize. Here are some updates on a couple of things that a lot of people commented on. Some people said to just wait for my dad to pass away. Not that I want my dad to pass, and I don't like speculating on his passing, but his dad lived to be almost 102, and my dad is in really good shape for an 83-year-old, 84 in March. So he might have another 20-ish years. There was a lot of discussion about how much the ring is worth. My dad is friends with a jeweler in New York who has done business with for over 40 years. My dad said they spoke last year, and the jeweler offered to buy the ring for $880,000. My dad says he could get more at an auction if he wanted to sell, which he doesn't. By the way, we do want you to listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime.
Just do that.
Lastly, a development that has nothing to do with the original question. I have punted Meg out of my house. I'm not taking her off my insurance, and I've given her a month to move out, but I am otherwise 100% done. She has always had a better relationship with her mom than me. I wonder why. But they got in a fight over a stupid effing purse, and Meg hit her in the shoulder. Oh, it left a huge bruise. My wife is shocked and hurt and angry. She can't believe we raised such a brat. I can.
That was the moment she's like, our kid's a brat.
I can believe that you guys would raise a brat. I hope that this will help fix whatever is wrong with her, but for now, I don't ever want to see her again once she leaves. And comments, you're going to have similar problems with a family house. It will need to be passed on to somebody, and that person can just sell it. The person could also close it off to the wider family, making it just their house alone, or rent it out to others. Same problem, but now it's a house shaped. Reply, way more work, drama, and upkeep too. Who's going to pay for utilities? What if OP pays half the utilities, but brother's side uses it more? Who's going to make rules on when it can and can't be used? What if one couple wants it as a romantic weekend alone and another family wants to invite a bunch of friends? Who's going to manage a reservation system? Who's going to pay repairs, property taxes? Who's going to keep an eye on it and make sure someone in the family isn't reserving it and using those reservations to rent it out on Airbnb? And basically saying there are a lot of problems with that idea.
My boyfriend's daughter is a spoiled brat, and his mom isn't much better.
2 for 1.
Okay, this is long. So backstory, I, 31 female, was married to an abusive man for 11 years and have 3 amazing kids, 11 female, 10 male, and 8 male. The divorce was messy, and I met my current boyfriend, 35 male, a while after we hit it off. He has 1 kid, 9 female, and that one was fine with me. At the beginning, I ignored some red flags, thinking it was things we could just work through, because he was just so sweet to me, and I have never had that before. By the way, this comes from user Tired of Life 669 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Some of the red flags were that he lives in his mother's basement, which would be fine if it was for financial reasons, but it's not. He actually just refuses to leave her house. He makes great money, and for the first year of our relationship, he made me sleep on the couch because he refused to move his daughter out of his bed. I was fine with that at first, as he promised it would change, but after a year of sleeping alone on a couch every single weekend, I told him I had enough and I wasn't sleeping there anymore. I have my own apartment that I live in alone with my kids. I'd rather sleep in a bed in a home I feel wanted. Because all of this spicy sleep was so difficult and awkward. He was also constantly canceling our plans and ditching me and my kids, but would get mad if I didn't stay at his house every weekend. I have social anxiety, and having his mom coming downstairs telling him what to do and treating him like a teenager was so nerve-wracking for me. But I kept coming over to see him or I wouldn't see him at all.
Oh, that's weird.
These are blatant red flags that are not good.
He's a homebody.
Yeah. His mother is also very controlling and overbearing. She has no sense of personal space or boundaries and has to know where he's going and what he's doing all the time. She'll also come downstairs and tell him how he needs to take care of his child. He takes care of her, but his mother likes to be the boss of it all. I've tried to get along with her, but can't handle being controlled like a teenager and all her doom and gloom, as she's always saying crazy things like, don't let her get shower water in her nose. She'll get brain-eating amoeba and die.
All right.
And to me, that's just crazy. His mother and him both are helicopter parents and baby his daughter 24/7. Because of this, she didn't start wiping her own butt after pee or poo until she was 9. She refuses to get herself dressed, put her own shoes on, brush her own teeth or hair, or even get up to grab her own water bottle that is sitting right in front of her. And she will demand that everyone else do it for her.
Oh no.
It's not because she can't, It's just because she doesn't want to. There's nothing medically wrong with her preventing her from doing anything. With me having 3 kids all in the same age range as her, I know what kids her age can and can't do. Going to the stores with him and his daughter has become something I absolutely dread. It's a screaming match of her throwing horrendous fits until she gets more and more toys. I can't get any of the shopping I want done because of her demanding we go get toys, then demanding we leave after she has it. I have told him this behavior is concerning to me as it makes everyone miserable, and my kids don't act like this, and neither do other kids her age. I expect this behavior from a toddler, but not a 9-year-old. She online shops a 9-year-old's online shopping? That's
of course, dude.
Come really bad.
Come on, dude. Get with the age.
Oh my God.
It's new days.
Oh gosh. She online shops all day long, and as soon as we wake up in the morning, she already has pulled up a new toy that she just has to have at that very moment and will demand we go and get it. If he says no, she will throw herself to the floor and throw a hysterical fit until he finally agrees, and then she is fine. That is also terrible parenting. You're not supposed to tell parents how to parent. This is not how you parent. She will do this too if she wants ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he gives it. Their pediatrician has told them that she needs to eat healthier because of her weight and is directly related to her diet of a can of icing for breakfast and then ice cream for lunch and then 6 normal-sized cupcakes before bed.
Oh my goodness. This is, oh my gosh.
If the mom is controlling in this household, why isn't she doing anything about this?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Her father and her grandmother have failed her. Him and I have gotten into arguments about her behavior because I will walk away in the stores when she's acting up, or the time she threw a toy at my face after I told her to stop throwing toys at me, and she hit me in the eye with it. I was hurt and he got mad at me for being upset, and he comforted her because she was crying. He dumped me for that one. He's taught her that everything revolves around her and what she wants. On anyone's birthday, she has to have her own cake.
Oh no.
If she wants to watch the TV that we are sitting at and watching, we have to get up and let her have it. We can only do the things she wants to do. It's gone to the point where my kids dread her coming over to our house because they have to constantly tiptoe around her. They don't do what she wants, she throws a fit and says they are being mean and demands to go home. And of course, they leave. She once stabbed my 10-year-old in the ear with a glow stick, almost rupturing his eardrum, and she cried, and he comforted her. And we took her home with no apology. She is also no stranger to being violent to her mother, hitting her, pulling her hair, and throwing things at her to get her way. She is in therapy because her mother got tired of it, and the therapist told them it's all behavioral to get what she wants, and there's nothing wrong with her. She is just spoiled. I told him some of this needs to get fixed before we move in with each other, and he will say there's nothing wrong with her, and then say he promises he will fix things.
That's such an empty promise.
This is not good.
No. And also, my rule, if you want to get with someone and you want to have kids with them and live a life, imagine a mini them becoming a person. Imagine if they have kids, they would grow up to be that person. Would you want that person to be around?
Heck no.
Not this guy.
No. His mother is just as bad as him, has gotten fed up with it to the point of almost kicking them out twice because of how bad it got just because she didn't feel like going to school. No, she isn't being bullied. She's not being abused. She's learned she can get her way by acting like this. I reached my limit this weekend though. I just had surgery and was home with my 11-year-old daughter and her friend. They were helping me while I recovered, and he wanted to come spend time with me. I love the idea of snuggling him while I didn't feel good. They get here and my daughter and her friend try and see if she wants to play with them, but she refuses. She just wanted to sit and play with the cats. That's fine. At one point, I'm upstairs and my daughter and her friend are in the kitchen getting food. And one of my cat's claws got stuck on a toy. And his daughter just yanked it off hard. Oh no.
Oh no. I don't want to know.
My daughter and her friend both told her to please be careful because she could hurt the cat doing that. She stomps her foot at them and tells them, I didn't do it hard. Then stomped to her dad and told him to come upstairs and talk to her. My daughter tells me what happened and I go into my room to find her rolling and kicking on the floor crying, saying that the friend was mean to her and was demanding to go home. I had reached my limit with the nonsense at this point and told them both how absolutely ridiculous this was. We couldn't do anything without her throwing some sort of a fit. We went to the apple orchards. She complained the whole time, went gem mining, and she screamed in the car for 30 minutes straight because she didn't want to eat at Zaxby's even though she chose it. No matter what we do, she is always throwing a fit over everything, and I just needed to relax and I was recovering from surgery. I did not want to hear any more of it. She kept lying saying that they were being mean and didn't want to play with her even though they asked her multiple times. He and I both heard it, and she just kept lying. So I told him I was done. I couldn't handle it anymore. It's not fair to me or my kids to have to deal with this. Kids aren't supposed to be perfect, but it should not be this extreme 24/7. I tried talking to her, and she wouldn't listen to me, and I told him, this is what I'm talking about. I can't even talk to her, and he told her to listen, or she was grounded from her tablet. Her response? How long? I was done. I told them they could leave. She went downstairs and told my daughter, this is all your fault. They are breaking up because of you. And my daughter had no idea what was even going on. They left. He was mad at me and said I'm abandoning him and not staying by his side. 2 years. I've given him 2 years to work on things and he hasn't. How much longer was I supposed to wait? How much more stress was I supposed to take while dealing with cancer scares and chronic health problems? Why is it on me to just take it and deal with his problems? But you know what? We don't have any problems here. You can just join us live, 3 p.m. PST every weekday. Just tap the profile.
Just do it.
This kid needs a reality check.
Oh, yeah. Fast.
But I don't know. This man sucks. The kid really sucks.
Oh, yeah.
If I had to say, I would be like, send her to boarding school. I mean, what is therapy to do for this girl?
I don't know, dude.
I mean, I would try therapy first, obviously.
I don't think they could afford it. It's just sad the lack of accountability they have with this kid.
On the kid and on him. The boyfriend is defending it and is just making an excuse for it and pointing the finger at everybody else.
I don't see how OP's still with this guy.
I don't see the reason why.
Yeah, or
especially with the medical treatments and all that stuff.
It's really weird.
I've tried helping him. I've tried talking to him, and he refuses to see any issue in his child. But why should everyone else around be miserable because he can't teach his child the word no? It sucks because him and I were a perfect match, but I just can't keep doing it. There's so much more to this. So many more problems, not just his kid. And no, I don't hate his kid. I hate his kid. I tried helping him. Tried helping her. I tried to be nice and teach her crafts and treat her like my own. She is a kid, but I can't keep doing this. And his mom? She believes step-parents aren't real parents and thinks I parent wrong because my kids can dress themselves and help clean up their messes. So am I the a-hole for giving up because he's making me think I am?
Nah, you just found your breaking point, man. And everyone has a breaking point with these things.
If there's nothing being changed, if you've already talked about the situation and what the issue is, and you are setting a good example for your kids and they see that as bad parenting, done. Before you break things off, I would definitely tell him it's going to get so much worse with you and your daughter.
Yeah.
To the point it's going to be very, very bad and she's going to be very lonely. She's going to have no friends.
Oh, yeah, no. Be ostracized her whole life.
I mean, she's brought it upon herself. It's going to get way worse. You don't want that. You want your daughter to live a good life. I would give him a flyer, child therapy.
Yeah. Kid doesn't deserve this. The kid deserves accountability and a good parent. Let's see that story. If you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you more than we love that kid.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
My daughter had an accident while playing with my husband, but he refuses to apologize. And guys, this is a direct OK Storytime story. Came from one of you. So, sorry for the long post. It is a long, bumpy ride, so buckle up. I am Sally, 39 female, and my partner, John, 37 male. We were in the kitchen hanging out with our daughter, Sandra, female 11, and his eldest and my stepdaughter, Lily, female 17. These are all fake names. By the way, this comes from user Trick Enthusiasm 5818. And if you want to submit your stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, Sandra and John were horsing around, and Sandra tried to get past him. He blocked her path. In the process of him blocking her way, Sandra's hip got slammed into the counter. She was hurt and upset. She ran from the room, and I was worried, and I went to check on her with a gel ice pack for her hip. It looked to me that John bumped into her with his hip when she tried to get by. Sandra also felt him push her with his hip. She was angry at him, and I asked her what it would take to make her feel better about the situation. She jokingly said, I want to get back at Daddy. So I said, okay, let's go. So we ran in there so she could see me get her revenge, so to speak. I ran up to John and told him I got to give him the old 1-2 for Sandra because he bumped into her and she got hurt. I barely gave him just the weakest little tap on his left pectoral muscle. I whispered to him, sorry, I was just trying to cheer her up and joke her out of being mad at you. He said, it's fine. It didn't hurt. I told John that if he just apologized, she would feel better about the situation and it could be resolved. But he made excuses and said everything except, I'm sorry, I hurt you.
Interesting. Just a little humility would go a long way here, John.
Maybe he has demand avoidance. He instead played the victim and blamed Sandra. Bold move. Let's see if that one pays off. I got angry and raised my voice. I will admit that. I have a temper, and I do tend to raise my voice when I get angry. I said that all he has to say is sorry without all the excuses. We know it was just an accident and there was no ill intent on his part, but he is the adult and needs to show the kids that he can take accountability for his part in the accident, especially since she is the kid and she got hurt. He just argued with me that he did nothing wrong, and if she didn't try to leave, she wouldn't have gotten hurt. I argued that if he didn't block her way when she tried to leave, she would have been fine. He keeps bringing it back up again when other things happen. Him and I were playing, and I gave him a little smack with the oven mitt. He blocked and hurt his pinky in the process. He made a not-so-subtle comment about how he isn't mad and other people should act like him when they get hurt, and it's no one's fault. I told him the difference is I was apologizing to him and getting him ice for his fingers, though I did say he shouldn't have blocked because he wouldn't have hurt his finger. I also pointed out that we were both adults and Sandra is a kid and she got hurt. That's the point right there that I'm like, where's your brain?
I don't know if he knows how to father.
This feels like more like an interaction between siblings. You're right. He's acting like instead of like a dad, he's acting like it's like an older brother where it's like, well, no, she wouldn't have got hurt if she didn't try to leave. And it's like, that's not really what it's about. It's just about making sure she's fine, doing the adult thing and just going, oh, sorry, is your hip okay? And she'll go, yeah, it's okay. And you go, all right. Well, we're okay, right? That's all we were looking for here. At least that's my sense. He said that Lily, the older daughter, so he said Lily saw it too and took his side and didn't understand why I was mad at him. She didn't see him bump into her. She never said that to me or when I was in the room, so who knows what's true. I argued that I was closer and saw it from a different angle and that Sandra felt him bump into her. Sandra is okay, by the way. It was just a scrape, but it may bruise. This just happened last night, so I'm not sure. No serious injuries, though. The issue is that it hurt more than her hip. His reaction hurt her feelings. That's the real problem here, is it's like, why are we trying to, like, blame the 11-year-old child when you hip-checked her? You clearly hip-checked her for maybe like running through the kitchen or something.
And we're trying to invalidate her.
You're just trying to avoid any and all accountability or blame for the situation, which is making it worse, my guy. Could have been very quick, in and out, super fast, and now we're done, moving on with our lives. John is much harder on Sandra than the other two kids. We also have a son together, a 6-year-old named Jack, who is on the autism spectrum. John treats Sandra like he doesn't like her as much as the other two kids. He's been more distant with me since Sandra was born. He struggled for a few years after she was born and was not around much during that time. I feel like he missed out on the best age for bonding with her, which would be 0 to 5 years old. We moved when she was 10 months old, and he was feeling a lot of pressure and financial stress at that time, I think. Sandra believes he wanted a son and was disappointed when she turned out to be a girl. And I honestly kind of agree. He rarely tries to spend time with her, and when he does, he's usually mean to her. The stars are not aligning for you, John. This is not looking good.
You got a son eventually. That's weird. I don't know if I can ever understand that. Because my first kid, I would love for it to be a girl. But if it comes a boy, I'm not going to be like, oh no.
I'm just happy to have a son or a daughter.
If you're not ready for either of the options, then don't have a kid. It's that simple. Like, come on. What are we doing? He rarely tries to spend time with Sandra, and when he does, he's usually mean to her. I've tried to bridge the gap, but to no avail. His behavior towards her has affected her mental health in a negative way. I have told him this, and he doesn't listen to me and often refuses to talk to me about it or blames her because of her bad attitude. But she is the child. He is supposed to be the one that shows her that he loves her, not the other way around, right? Yes. Correct. You're arguing like you're on even footing with an 11-year-old girl who is your daughter.
Crazy conspiracy theory. You may not think it's his kid.
Oh, he's going to say, I was gone a lot. I was at the office. Meanwhile, you had a little baby. I don't think is mine. If that really is like you can't deal with like having a daughter or having a son. You only want one. Go adopt. Adopt. That's how you can guarantee that you get exactly what you want. Like it's a candy store, I guess. But come on, guys. Anyway, so I feel like he treats her badly because she won't kiss his butt and act like he's some kind of hero, buttering him up with fake praise. I don't either usually, which is why we fight. I am abrupt and honest nowadays, and she takes after her mother, I guess. I love my kids, and I want John to see that he is damaging his relationship with her and me with his behavior. I want to keep my family together, but I sometimes wish I could leave him and take the kids. I can't, though. I will explain why before you all scream, leave him! You're a terrible mother for subjecting these kids to abuse. Just listen to my reasoning before you judge me. I have thought of nothing else for many years. I am a stay-at-home mom, and we are unmarried. There is no common law marriage in my state, and I would leave with nothing after supporting him in his career and raising his children for 15 years. I also fear about the way the kids would be treated and cared for during his time alone with them if we separated. John and his parents insisted that we use corporal punishment on the kids, and I refused. John's family are firm believers in the Bible verse, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. I also didn't allow him to get physical with the kids. I didn't let his parents babysit at all unless I had no choice because they didn't respect my wishes on the no spanking rule. I don't believe in using physical punishment to teach kids how to behave. I think it reduces their spirit and traumatizes them and doesn't teach them anything positive. Big facts. I'm just going to say we're in agreement and move forward. I want to keep my family together. The risk of abuse and neglect goes up when parents are separated, not to mention other things like anxiety and substance abuse. I'm not saying having parents stay together and argue often is much better, but sometimes life is like voting for a president. Neither choices are great or even good options, but you have to pick the lesser of two evils. I do still love that son of a little witchy man deep down, even though I also hate his guts most days. John has some good qualities as well. He's not physically abusive. He's a good provider and he spoils us. He does love us all, Sandra too. He just has a piss poor way of showing it sometimes. He is good in the spicy arena, which is what first drew us to each other. At first, it was infatuation and a little spicy chemistry. He usually gives in to what I want, especially when it comes to the kids in the house, which is nice. And by the way, another nice thing that you can do is listen to full episodes with stories like this. All you got to do is go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, and search OK Storytime. And there you can peruse the plethora of podcast peculiarities as you wish. We do have a little bit of the story left. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I am not familiar with common law and marriage laws and all of this, but it's like, it sounds like you've really done the math on like what's positive and what's negative. I think maybe a conversation with parents, you know, if John's parents, anyone who's part of the support web, the support structure that you have. And if you find yourself isolated from like family, like that's like maybe another red flag there. I know that there's two sides to every coin, but it's like, if you really are worried about like abuse, like it really doesn't sound like this is a guy that you want to stay. If that is something that's even a consideration where it's like, well, we got to figure out which way is the least amount of abuse. It's like if there's abuse in any context, really, that's not good. So I would figure out what the laws are, figure out what kind of rights that he would have to the kids.
So you're saying divorce?
I think if you're at the point where you're like weighing the different sort of variables of like where the most likely source of abuse would be coming from, like if you even have to weigh that, I just don't think that's the right guy to be with. I don't think that's a guy that you want raising your kids.
I would say therapy in this case. This seems like the first case that OP has been confronted with an issue like this. I mean, they probably talked about it before. This is the actual like first case. I'm going to say go to therapy, see where his head's at, see where your head's at, and work on a solution together, or that it might be best to have this problem apart.
If there's any doubt at all of their like actual safety, that's not a conversation. That's like a immediately needing to find a way forward without that threat. There is a little bit more here. Let's finish it off. I am also not perfect. I admit that I contribute to the toxic dynamic in our relationship. I am easily triggered and tend to yell when I get angry, but I try to at least admit to my failings and apologize when I am an a-hole. He almost always refuses to admit any wrongdoing or apologize for any of his often awful behavior. That is not a pretty picture there, OP. That is the ugly truth from my perspective. Sorry that was so long. So am I the a-hole for blaming my partner and asking him to apologize when our daughter got hurt while they were horsing around in the kitchen?
N-O. That spells.
Absolutely not. But I do think that this is just a sliver, like a little microcosm in a much larger issue overall, which is that y'all's dynamic as partners doesn't really seem to be working on all of the levels that really matter the most right now.